On the gridiron, success is measured in a 60-minute gauntlet of athletic resilience and mental fortitude. The ability to outplay and outthink one's opponent is the difference between that sweet victory and crushing defeat. And on these 64 squares, much is the same. It's a battle of will, grit, and determination, minus the bone-crushing hits, of course. But what happens when the two cross paths? This.
2, 1.
Oh, mate!
BlitzChamps is back, but this time the spotlight shines on the University of Texas as their squad turn their attention from the field to the chessboard.
Oh!
Instead of end zone, it's end game. Instead of quarterback sacks, it's queen sacks. Instead of check downs, it's checkmates. All the metaphors you can handle. With some serious bragging rights among teammates on the line, the locker room trash talk just might be a little elevated this season. So, put the cleats and pads away and get ready to lead your 16 chessmen to glory. This is BlitzChamps Texas, and it starts now.
It's beautiful Austin, the capital of the U.S. state of Texas. Also home to the University of Texas Longhorns, who are not playing on the gridiron today, but playing over the chessboard. Austin, well known for its barbecue, live music, and voodoo donuts, but today it will be known for its chess game. I'm Grandmaster Robert Hess. Alongside me is International Master Casa Corley. Casa, it's BlitzChamps, and this time it is Texas.
Yeah, good to be with you today, Robert. We've had BlitzChamps Stanford, we've had BlitzChamps Michigan, and now we have one of the most storied programs in the country with BlitzChamps Texas, basically showing how they fare over the chessboard. So really excited to be with you today.
I'm excited as well, and it was a difficult Saturday for University of Texas Longhorn fans, but they get to redeem themselves, not on the gridiron, but over the chessboard. We have a field of 8 great competitors today. It is our 3rd edition of BlitzChamps. Today we go to Texas, where the lineup is spearheaded by offensive lineman Robert Sweeney. We have a punter sandwich between another lineman. We have Ryan Sanborn, Hayden Connor, Gabriel Lozano, Liona, Lefau, Christian Jones, Jahdae, Barron, and David Gbenda. But Casa, at the top of the list, is none other than offensive lineman Robert Sweeney, who brings in a blitz rating of 939, and we saw his rapid rating is quite a bit higher than that.
Yeah, this guy, Robert Sweeney, has played some chess in his lifetime and is pretty good at it. So I would say we definitely have to take a close look at him when these games begin. And these offensive linemen, very cerebral players. I think folks that aren't familiar with American football don't really understand that they have to win their matchup the majority of the time they're out there on the field, and that's not the case for some positions out there. So I think he's going to be someone to watch.
Yeah, having to win your battles every down is the punter. So Robert Sweeney, the offensive lineman, somebody we'll keep our eyes on, but also Ryan Sanborn, the punter. You have to win every single punt because otherwise everybody hates you. You don't get much love, but you are the recipient of hate. But today, we're going to show Ryan some love because he is the event organizer. He's also a senior transfer from Stanford University. He's punted that ball many times with a nearly 42-yard average on his punts. 2-time Pac-12 academic honor roll. He's bright, he's good at punting, and he's pretty good at chess.
Shout out to people that bring other people together, and that's what Ryan Sanborn's doing with BlitzChamps Texas. We have the opportunity to see these guys play against each other in chess during their regular season, during their football season. That's not an easy thing to do. And he's also a guy that's been a pretty storied punter. This is a guy that was on the Ray Guy Award watch list going into this season. And for those that don't know, Ray Guy is a legendary Hall of Fame punter. So, if he's anything close to this guy, he's pretty impressive. Pun intended there.
Hey, I heard you on that one, Casa. He's indeed impressive, as are the Longhorns. They may have suffered a setback this past weekend against the Oklahoma Sooners, but overall, this year has been a success. When you go into Tuscaloosa and defeat the Alabama Crimson Tide, hey, the Roll Tide got rolled, and that is courtesy of the Longhorns. So hook 'em, cook 'em. Texas also beat Kansas, crushed the Jayhawks. They also have a win over Wyoming. Now, normally, that won't exactly be a name that rings a lot of promise, but Wyoming has only one defeat to the University of Texas. They beat ranked Fresno State this past Saturday, so that could be another resume builder. So, Casa, it's a great squad. They have a great defense, and they also have pretty good chess players.
Yeah, look, style points matter in college football. We see it week in and week out, and unfortunately, they did fall short in a very, very close game, the Red River rivalry, but there's still plenty of season left, and honestly, if they win out, they're making it to the playoffs. So, we're going to see if they're able to do the same and be just as effective on the chessboard today, and I'm really curious to see how competitive these guys get. I think that's the thing that you see with a lot of elite athletes is they're competitive in every facet of their life, and we're going to find out today.
They also are pretty good at trash talking. We covered the University of Michigan and Stanford, and those players, they do like to talk some trash. But the 8 players to enter today, there can only be one winner. So why don't we look at our champions bracket, see the rundown, the pairings, and we start at the top with Robert Sweeney. And we know how strong he is. He is somebody with a rapid rating about 1,200, but his opponent is Liona Lefau. And Casa, we can't count anybody out in these competitions. Some people play more over the board, some people play more online. And as you look down at the pairings, Ryan Sanborn there at the bottom with Christian Jones, I don't know who to pick in these various matchups.
Yeah, it must be said, we do have a few unrated folks in the field, and honestly, I always go back to the old saying, they are who they thought we were, but we let them off the hook. And I feel like with these ratings, sometimes when you have folks that are unrated, you really don't know how strong they actually are, and it lends itself to some upset. So I'd be shocked if everything happened the way the seeds looked on paper.
Well, the seed on paper, it's clear who is the top one, and that is Robert Sweeney. And look at that background. Robert Sweeney has Magnus Carlsen behind him. I mean, couldn't get any better than that.
He's letting folks know what's good today, and he's gonna hopefully back up that background with some pretty effective chess. That's pretty awesome.
Well, he's gonna try to make Magnus Carlsen proud, and I can't quite see the hat. Is that a New York Mets hat? Is that what I'm seeing here?
It is. Tough season for those guys.
What do you mean tough season? Tough franchise, tough history for the Mets. It's just, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm looking at that. I grew up as a Mets fan, so I feel you, Robert. Great first name. If you're going to root for any baseball team, I have respect for the Mets. But Magnus Carlsen, that's really the key to this background here. And Magnus is someone who knows what winning tournaments is like. And for Robert Sweeney, he's going to have to remember the format. It's not just winning one game in this competition. It's first to 2.5 points. They're playing best of 4 there. 1 point for a win, half a point per player for a draw. And Casa, we like to circle our X's and O's in football. The O that I'm circling is 5 minutes plus 0 seconds added per move. There is no increment. That means we will see some flagging.
Yeah, I think one of the really cool things about this event is a lot of the players here aren't Magnus Carlsen, they aren't Hikaru Nakamura, but they're folks that are basically like a lot of our viewers watching the show. And so it's really interesting to see how you manage your time, how you handle the ups and downs, what happens when you're up material, do you trade when you're up? And I think it's a huge opportunity for us all to kind of basically go back to those fundamentals, those principles, Robert, that we essentially grew up with, and talk about those things as the games go on, because converting in time trouble is going to be very challenging.
Oh, it certainly will, especially for some of our newer players in this competition, because while Robert Sweeney, he tops the list with a blitz rating nearly 1,000, a rapid rating at about 1,200, some of the players, they haven't been playing on chess.com, and we'll see how much they've been practicing over the board against their teammates, against their friends, because when you look at this competition, we've seen in the past some players get kind of wiped out, I should say, against the better players in the competition.
Yeah, one other thing I want to point out is that I believe in the first two BlitzChamps editions we had in Stanford and Michigan, respectively, there were wide receivers that won that event. Now, this time around, we actually don't have a wide receiver playing, but there are guys on the offensive side, and if you looked at the top of that chart in terms of the ratings, it did seem like the offensive guys were at the top. So I'm curious to see if a guy on the defensive side of the ball is gonna kind of show their force today, because we saw that before, that this Texas defense on the Gridiron is pretty nasty.
Yeah, their defense is nasty, and you mentioned some ball hawks. We have Jahdae, Barron in this competition, and he's somebody who knows how to pick off the quarterback. He's somebody who helped lead that defense and the entire team to a win over Alabama. No small feat. Few teams go into Tuscaloosa and take down the Crimson Tide. And Texas is a storied franchise in the world of American football. You know, we have so many big names that we can talk about. I remember watching Vince Young scamper his way to touchdowns in that famous Rose Bowl against USC. You know, I was a kid back then, but I remember my mom thought I went to sleep, but instead I went out to where the TV was, and I was watching that game all night while the rest of my family were none the wiser.
Yeah, Texas USC, that was one of the greatest college football games, I'd say, of all time. Can I say that? Definitely the 21st century. And yeah, look, Texas football's back. I mean, even despite what happened this last weekend, there were a few years there was a bit of a lull, but they've totally turned it around. And the guys that are playing today are part of that. So it's really cool to see these worlds collide.
Yeah, the 2006 Rose Bowl, it just really brings back so many memories. And some of these players, they want to make memories here today, some chess memories, not something that I think the chess world thought that we would say even a few years back. But this is how much the game has grown. This is how many new players are into chess. And here we see that is Liona Lefau. He is getting ready. He's bopping his head. I don't know if there's music back there, but no matter what's happening, he's dancing. But we know, Casa, that sometimes the players who are the most excited, sometimes they are the ones who stumble the hardest.
Hey, you know what? I love beating folks to a soundtrack. I'm sure there are folks at home that have done the same at some point on chess.com. So if the man wants to feel himself, let the man feel himself. And it's a fun event. You know, we might have the opportunity to really see a different side of these guys today. And I mean, that's, I think, part of what it's about. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, and we have Liona Lefau, linebacker for the University of Texas. That is a position that requires a lot of hard hitting. And you see we saw him dancing to some music, but he is going to be facing off against Robert Sweeney. Here's our bird's eye view. All 4 matches will start soon. Casa, I don't even know which match will be the favorite, just because all of them should promise excitement.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to jump around just a touch accordingly. But, we are off, it would appear. And we're tuned into Sweeney and Lefau, right? So now, we have Italian before this move, Knight H6. What do you think about Knight H6, Robert?
Knight H6 is one of those moves where you are developing, but we teach the beginner players. Knights on the rim are dim. It does defend that critical F7 square. It means that he wasn't going to get 4-move checkmated, nothing of the sort. But now that Knight is in the bishop's sight, so Casa, I think we both recognize that this was an inaccuracy, but it's not a game-ending mistake, because even if the bishop takes that knight on F6 and the pawn takes back, it's just, okay, well, that move changes the story quite a bit, because now this diagonal is really exposed.
Yeah, whenever you're pushing pawns, you always have to be really wary of the squares you're weakening. And right now, if you look at the light squares on that king side, I affectionately call that Swiss cheese. And you can see Robert also identifies that Swiss cheese and is going in for queen h5 check. Are we going to have a quick mating pattern here? No, he takes the rook first, very savvy. And Lefau's no longer bopping his head in the same way he was before.
I'm going to be honest, Casa, I didn't even see that the rook was hanging. I thought queen h5 check, go in for checkmate. But that's actually good awareness from Robert Sweeney, because now in comes the queen for the kill. Knight g6 is the only legal move for black, and you could even pick off this h7 pawn to remove the defender of the knight. So I believe, Casa, all of black's pieces, at least on the king side, are about to be lost.
Yeah, and the question is, how is Robert Sweeney, not Robert Hess, going to deal with the ensuing play after knight g6? He may take twice with the queen, and if I had to guess, I think there's a queen that might land on d5 sooner rather than later, but we'll find out shortly.
For some players, it gets frustrating that there's not an immediate checkmate, where this king will likely have to run over to d6, but there isn't an immediate checkmate. Robert Sweeney, he's about 1,200 rapid chess, as we were highlighting at the start of the show, and he won't even need to worry about his queen going to d5. It's checkmate in 2 moves. Move the knight pretty much anywhere, and then put your queen on f7. And
wow, that's beautiful.
Casa.
That is a double exclam move. If I ever saw one, it's just so aesthetically pleasing. And the beautiful thing about it is it's mate on the next move. That queen will land on f7, and that'll be checkmate, and we'll be able to dart to another game, Robert.
And that was almost pre-moved by Robert Sweeney. He's looking more like Sweeney Todd there. He is taking down Liona Lefau. So that is game 1 in the books. Casa, any of the other games catching your eye? I see the top right. That's a huge advantage for white.
Yeah, I see another rook on g8. So I think for the folks at home, it looks like there are 2 games with a rook on g8, and in both games there is a bit of a problem here. This king that's on e8 is not safe, and so white has this opportunity now to blast through in the center in so many different ways. You could play knight takes e5. You could bring your rook to e1. You could play queen d3 like Gabriel Lozano is doing, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you're also up 2 pieces. I didn't do the math at first, but somehow white has 3 minor pieces, or let's just say 2 extra knights. It's the easiest way to visualize it. And so something has gone very wrong for David Gbenda. And I'm looking at that 400 rating, Casa. I have a feeling that might be the sign of a new account versus the stabilized rating.
Yeah, we're going to get more information as the games go on, but I love what Gabriel's doing right now, putting the knight on e6. That queen is hanging, but doesn't go for it. That's fine. There's still plenty of material. And I think for the folks at home, when you're up a lot of material, you actually don't need more. You can trade and kind of whittle things down so that your opponent runs out of forces, or you can play for checkmate. So I'm trying to figure out which one is Lozano going for.
And this king goes to f8. This king has no legal move. So knight g5 is actually a sweet move for Gabriel. He goes queen f5. He gives a check right away. But I actually think that's an instructive moment, Casa, where oftentimes, especially newer players, less experienced players, they always want to give the check, go for checkmate. But sometimes you want to get that enemy king in a checkmating net, and then keep all the squares around it in your control. How can you complain about this play from white? But just one of those things that in a different position, it might have been costly.
Yeah, I mean, it's so natural to give a check when you see it. And so I'm not going to fault my man here. But again, he is trading the queens. No, the queen was not captured. So this queen f5 now is free to roam. And we'll figure out whether Lozano decides to save the queen this time, because David Gbenda just realized on camera, you could see he just made a reaction like, oh, I should have taken the queen. He realized it just at the last moment there.
Well, they usually say better late than never, and the queen escapes up to d7, and there should be a swift checkmate. He's just bringing all his pieces into the party, and unfortunately for David, he's not taking his opponent's pieces when they're offered. So this king on g8, a lonely piece, and that's another rook available to be captured. I think Gabriel is just going to scoop up all the material.
Yeah, and again, don't take everything, because then sometimes you have these stalemating tricks that come up, and so we might see a stalemate today. We did see one in a previous edition of BlitzChamps, so I'm always curious to see that. But I think one of the telltale signs today, Robert's going to be who knows about castling, who gets their king safe, because I think that thus far, the side that is castled has won every game. And so I'm just looking around at some of these other boards here. I'm saying, is that holding true? And I think it is thus far.
It makes sense. Getting your king to safety is the most important thing. And wow, I wasn't thinking there was checkmate in 1. I thought you'd go bring the queen to f7. That's actually checkmate, because it's 2 checks in 1 against the black king. Takes away the escape square on g5. That's nasty.
Beautiful. Aesthetically pleasing. A double discovery checkmate. That is gorgeous.
Well, I think gorgeous for some is really ugly for others, and for David Gbenda, not a position he wants to look at anymore. But let's go to the game in the bottom right. That is Ryan Sanborn. He helped organize this event, so why don't we tune into his first game of the event against Christian Jones. And Casa, neither king looks castled in the bottom right-hand side of our screen, but white is up, I think, 2 pawns? Is it 3 pawns, actually?
How cool. Oh, and here we go. One side has castled. It's safe to say Ryan Sanborn didn't want to punt on that opportunity.
Oh, my goodness. You didn't just do that, did you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Basically, we have a situation here where, white has control of the center, white's rooks are connected, and white is up material. And so those things are really matter, although there's a lot more in this position. So we'll see what happens. But I like white's chances here. And the question for Christian is he going to castle long too? Get that rook on it that's in the corner on a8 in the game. That's kind of what I'm curious about. Also, this knight on h7 for white, is it gonna stay trapped or is it gonna come out? And it seems like it's gonna get out. We'll see what happens. It seems like white is gonna be the comfortable side here.
And Ryan's also up 2 minutes on the clock. So that's usually good news for the higher rated player, that even if they can't deliver a knockout blow, they can use the clock to their advantage. And I'm just noting that Ryan's background, I was confused for a second. I was like, wow, he's such a supportive teammate. He just has a bunch of his teammates on the screen. But I actually think that's him to the right side of his face, the way we're looking. I think that's him about to punt the ball, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a bit unclear to my eyes.
Cool, it's like game chat.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably of him. I'd be surprised if his background was of someone else on the team. Although you do see that sometimes. I would be a little surprised. But here we go. I really love what Ryan just did, playing g3, opening up the h line for the rook. And again, white just has really great coordination here, and he's managing his time well too. So really impressive stuff so far.
And good resilience from Christian Jones. If these ratings here are to be believed, he's at 211, his opponent at over 800. This seems a little bit more evenly matched than that spread would indicate, but the play has been strong from Ryan Sanborn. And we're looking at this position. It is 3 pawns ahead for white. Black's pawn structure on the queen side is also compromised. You mentioned the rook on 8 has not been able to develop, and also the time, only 47 seconds for black. So everything is going well for Ryan Sanborn here, and this knight is about to get trapped.
Yeah, this knight on f2 is short of squares. Don't blunder that rook on h1, Ryan. That would be important. He notices it, brings the rook to h6. And one of the things that you'll also see, is when we talked about castling being important. The other thing is when you see a piece attacked, do you move it? It sounds simple, but it's not always easy to notice. And, we're already seeing sometimes some players noticing that, some players not, and that could be the difference too.
For sure. And that knight hopped around to d1 for black. But look at white going for some kind of checkmating attack. He should have put his pawn on d6 first. It's what we were just talking about, Casa. Where you see a check, you give a check often. But if he actually had stopped and pushed that pawn up, he would have been able to deliver a checkmate.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these games are going to be like, it's kind of like Pac-Man, basically. You're going to just collect all your opponent's pieces and then figure out how to checkmate. And I think we're seeing that same storyline here in this one. Ryan is just collecting everything. And then at some points, we're like, I'm going to have enough pawns that one of them's going to be a queen. And, we might have Christian flagging before that happens. But I like the way Ryan handled this in general. He didn't really blunder and kind of is just taking stuff.
And that may seem kind of obvious, not blundering is good for your chess, and he does win the game on time. Christian takes that well, he's in good spirits. You see them laughing, likely good mates, these two, on the squad. But what I was going to say, Casa, is, and look, it's Annie. That was Annie from chess.com, who was helping Ryan to start the next game. But I think it's very key when you're improving, especially in a competition of this nature. If you can avoid blunders, that's often even more important than finding these crazy sacrifices.
And look at, I don't know if you noticed, Christian's background is just Ryan in the background there. Hook 'em horns, Christian. That's right, hook 'em horns.
We just saw Hayden Connor get a W, and look at that. There he goes. That is hilarious. I think that all players should be going after their opponents, and that is a great background from Christian. So, Casa, we have 2 games that are live. Why don't we go back to Robert Sweeney, because he is our highest rated player in the field. It looks like he has a winning advantage, And unfortunately for Liona Lefau, his king is being hunted, and he just lost his queen as soon as we turned in.
Yeah, Robert has definitely been channeling his inner Magnus thus far. Is he going to castle with check? That is what I want to know. Does he see that he can castle with check? He goes queen e3 check, just as effective. And, it appears that Liona Lefau lost on time, but that king was getting cut down. And it's funny, we talked about style points mattering in college football. When you win by a large margin, it's impressive to the committee. I think the guys are kind of taking their cues from that and saying, we got to win big style points here. We got to take all the pieces. We got to, really walk them down an alley, and then we'll figure out about checkmate. And that adjustment that the style points don't matter as much in this game, we'll figure out if that comes to the fore at some point.
For sure. And I think there's one match we haven't really looked at yet, the one between Hayden, Connor, and Jahdae, Barron. So why don't that game ended as soon as I wanted to talk about it.
It just happened. Whoa.
Yep. The bottom left-hand side of our screen, there was a very early checkmate, and Hayden Connor delivers it. It's probably hard to make out. We could potentially pull the game up to give you a clearer picture of the finishing touch. Oh, king safety is paramount, Casa, and unfortunately for Jahdae, Barron, he left his king out to dry.
Yeah, the crazy thing about it is I imagine that there was probably a knight that came to h3 at some point, which is why there are these double h pawns. And I think a lot of folks actually got the memo that the f2 square is valuable and that you cover it in that way. But what you don't want to do is open up the whole diagonal. And so you see, once you push that f pawn, the diagonal, those dark squares are, Swiss cheese again. And that queen now can dart down once the knight on h3 is eliminated. And so that's what you're seeing folks do. Hammer away at that f2 square, and then good things happen. So impressive. It's impressive to see that and execute it. And I think you're seeing these knight h3, knight h6s in the short term defending f7, but in the long term, essentially, weakening your king side.
And I think it's just good chess from Hayden Connor, somebody we didn't speak about as much. We talked about Robert Sweeney, and we also were speaking about Ryan Sanborn. But it looks like Hayden Connor, he understands the fundamentals of the game, delivers that checkmate. And Casa, as I look across the boards, as Game 3 gets underway between Hayden and Jahdae, I'm looking at the top right. It looks like Gabriel is crushing it. He's playing a nice match. He's playing against David Gbenda, so maybe we should tune in there just to see the finishing touches of that game.
Yeah, I mean, the senior kicker here is, kicking some butt, basically. He's up. Again, style points are mattering in these games, we can say. He's got a queen and a bishop, and it might collect that rook as well. It looks like it's an everything must go sell.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, for David, it looks like all of the pieces are gone. I'm curious of the technique, because Gabriel brings his bishop back with check. I'm wondering if he's got that technique to put the game away quickly, because against some of the higher rated players in this competition, once you get a winning position, you often have to make the most of it immediately, as you won't get a couple more chances.
Yeah, and really the question here is, how do you checkmate? So you could bring the rook on d8 down to d1. d2 is just as effective, basically using the rook and the queen, those heavy pieces, to combine against the c2 pawn is probably enough to win. Also you could entertain just pushing the h pawn down the board and getting two queens, but it's, Gabriel's saying, I have all I need to win the game, and there is a mate in one pattern right here, folks, which he finds.
I'm giving him that thumbs up. He finds checkmate in one. The queen and bishop team up along with that pawn, and he's nodding his head because he knows that he just got the job done. And look at his background, Casa. This is hilarious what these players are doing.
Yeah, they're just taking their opponents and psyching them out by having the background be their opponent. Now, folks, it is a 4-game series, so best of 4 basically. So these folks that are up 2-0, if they get one just half point basically, they secure match victory. So Hayden actually execute another checkmate on the F line on the F7 square now. So he actually has won his match 3-0, and we're looking to see if Robert Sweeney and Gabriel Lozano can do the same.
And I want to point out for Jahdae, there is some good news because he lost the games in the same exact fashion, that if he learns how to prevent that kind of checkmate, he will immediately grow as a chess player. So it's unfortunate to have your maybe first tournament experience in front of so many viewers, but it's a learning opportunity. And I feel like you just give him that knowledge, immediately he becomes much, much stronger. So we will come back to his games later, as all the players will play more matches. But Casa, should we go back to Robert Sweeney as he's about to deliver, it seems like, the final victory of the match, and he is going to take this one 3-0 against Liona Lefau.
Yeah, I think we can take a look there, because it is just about to end. And I honestly wonder if we had like a little TV timeout, and because we can listen into the players at some point. I wonder if we just said, hey, don't move your F-pawn. Don't move your F-pawn. How many of these games would go way longer? Because we're starting to see that be a theme. I don't know, but maybe if Steve Sarkisian got in the mix and told these guys, they might be a totally different story in some of these matches.
And Robert Sweeney delivers. He takes a drink, and not only Magnus is in his background, it looks like a teammate is back there. It seems like he's having a good time as he takes home his first match victory, 3-0 over Liona Lefau. And yeah, it's good to see the camaraderie. It's good to see more interest in chess, and it's great to see Magnus. Hey, Magnus, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Magnus is ubiquitous, So even folks long and far in football and all manner of sport know, if you're involved in chess, Magnus is not too far away. And can we look at this Ryan Sanborn, Christian Jones game? Because we're getting the start knight F3, knight H6, which is intriguing. I am intrigued. I'm very intrigued. Because again, it's like this overprotection of the F7 square that's happening. But in the long term, that knight on H6 doesn't have a huge future. And so that's the tricky part of it. But now we have an Italian game. The bishop comes to c4, staring at that f7 pawn, getting close to castling, and you can see the bar, pretty up there because the white's so well centralized. If you asking yourself what are your checkpoints in the opening, right? It's getting your pieces out, your knights and your bishops, taking control of the center, those central squares, e4, d4, e5, and d5, and castling. And if you ask yourself some of those checkpoints, you see white is a bit ahead on all of those things.
And Christian is over there snacking while Ryan's snacking on that e5 pawn. An extra pawn ahead is Ryan Sanborn. And, Christian, I feel like he has basic control of the game right now. He just got his bishop to a better square. He's getting ready to castle. He should look out now that white's last move opened the bishops towards each other. And unfortunately, he wasn't looking in that direction. But I think what I was going to say here is that out of the opening, we see Christian playing on the flank. I'm not sure if he actually had a lesson just on some of the fundamentals of the game, like, hey, develop in the center, try to get your king castled, and unfortunately he's playing a very experienced opponent in Ryan Sanborn.
And Christian just realized on cam, you could see him, he just snapped into focus when he realized he lost that knight on h6 by playing g6, and now the king is darting to the middle as well. It's crazy because if you actually think about football, and in most sports, I would say, I always call the center like the super highway through which you get to one side of the board or the other, because through the center you can go left, right, or push forward in the middle. And so I think it's very similar in sports too. If you have the middle of the field under control, in football it's if you attack the middle of the field, or in basketball if you attack the paint, good things happen on the flanks. And I think you basically switch up that order of operations, and it's something that a lot of these guys would understand.
For sure. And, well, it seems like the players are talking to one another, so why don't we tune in, get their mics available for everybody, because I'm curious how friendly the talk is when one player is about to go up 3-0.
He got me on this one. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
I think where did Ryan go? He disappeared into his computer.
GG's, man.
Okay, well, apparently The players,
Is there a
they
way
keep
that I could get out of this?
they keep talking. They're having a good time over there. And Casa, it looks like checkmate is near.
I can't get out.
Yeah, this king will try to run away to d8, and that's what Christian's doing, and maybe dart over to c7 as well. But I think Ryan has his choice of how he wants to handle it. My personal preference would be to bring that knight that's on b1 that's undeveloped and hop it twice from c3 to d5 or c3 to b5 to take away the c7 square. But again, style points has been the norm, and we're going to see a little bit more Pac-Man style play where you collect more pieces just to remove any whisker of a doubt that your opponent has anything.
Never back down.
I like your point, though, that if this knight were able to get to d5, which it can, and maybe he's using the other knight to circle back to d5, that takes away the king's escape scores. And Christian runs with his king before it's too late, and the knight does come to d5 with fork. So, Casa, I think that was a good moment from both players. It's just that Ryan is so much material ahead.
Yeah, and again, it's funny, just to be clear, when I was, 700, 600, I was doing the same thing. Here we do have a mate in 1 here, or mate in 2, there's queen e7, check, that's mate in 1, and there, Ryan finds it. But just to finish that point, I was doing the same thing. When you're up a lot of material and you want to kind of remove the chances from your opponent, sometimes you just feel like if I take all this stuff, then they're not going to touch me. And it's also really gratifying when your opponent feels helpless. And Robert, I don't know how you felt about that, but I loved when my opponent couldn't do anything. And you can see, look at the satisfaction that Ryan has right now. He's just straight chilling, feeling really, really good about what he just did.
It's a show of dominance in a way. You're like, you are helpless, you are floundering, and I'm just going to grab everything, and there's nothing you can do about it. But look at the respect here. Look at them enjoying themselves. There is Ryan, not just winning games, but also as a background, rocking the hat, showing the hook'em, signal. So I feel like the players, they're really having a blast over here, and we already know, Casa, who is moving on in the champions bracket, because we had 4 matches conclude, all of them in 3-0 fashion.
Yeah, 3-0 to Robert, 3-0 to Gabriel, 3-0 to Hayden, and 3-0 to Ryan. Basically, it was a clean sweep across the board, and this has been rare in our BlitzChamps matchup. So, really, really fascinating stuff, and we're gonna find out if the scores and the matchups tighten a little bit now that we are moving into the next round.
Yeah, the players do get closer in strength as we move forward here, and we see our champions bracket semi-final matchups. We have Robert Sweeney taking on Gabriel Lozano, and we have Hayden Connor taking on Ryan Sanborn. So, Casa, given what we just saw, do you see any favorites there?
I think Robert Sweeney is a favorite. He showed us a few different versions of checkmate on f7, which I think is pretty impressive. And I'm going to go with Hayden. Hayden also showed me something as well. So I think is Ryan maybe a slight favorite over Hayden? I like Hayden in that matchup.
Okay, well, we'll see, because Hayden's games were done that quickly. We also have consolation matches, so just because people lost their first round does not mean that they are going anywhere. And speaking of, just because today is a one-day event doesn't mean that you should go anywhere, because there is so much action in the chess world, in particular in the college chess sphere. The Collegiate Chess League is back. Tune in every Saturday for Team Blitz matches between the top talent in American college chess, including players like Benjamin Bach, Grigorio Parrin, and a wonder Liang. Catch us this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, wherever you watch Chess.com streams, and use the command CCL in chat for everything you need to know about the season. Well, we're going to learn more about the University of Texas Longhorns football season. We're also going to learn more about their chess. So we're going to hop on over for a quick break, but when we return, the action continues in Austin. The University of Texas Longhorns are playing some good chess.
Your subscription makes shows like this possible, which is why our Twitch subscribers will never see ads on chess.com. Connect your chess.com account and Twitch account at go.chess.com/connectaccounts, and bang, boom, voila, you're done. 100% ad-free bliss forevermore. Whether you're following our events on site or on stream, type the command connect in the chat, and thank you for helping bring these shows to life.
Dude, it's impossible to not hear you just breathing super loudly.
Okay, fine. I will hold my breath for 3 minutes.
All right, let's go. Let's go
sure.
right now. Got the
Ready?
chess clock app right here. Almost there. And you did it.
What can you do for 3 minutes?
My wife says not a lot, but I can plank.
Keep that big butt down. Dude, nice.
2, 1, you did it. Wow. I feel better. Oh, yeah. You were timing me?
Yeah, you were in there for 30
Oh,
minutes.
man.
Let's
Sorry.
play some chess and get some dinner.
Let's do it.
Time odds?
Yeah.
Okay. You bring a clock?
Oh, I left my clock at home.
Dude, you idiot. I told you to bring it.
Let's just go get something to eat.
Okay. Download the new chess.com clock app so you can time yourself playing chess or whatever other dumb stuff you and your friends do.
Welcome back, everybody. We have had one match in the books for every player here at BlitzChamps, Texas. Casa, it's been a lot of fun thus far, but some more fun for others as 4 players have reached the next stage of the event in the champions bracket, and the other 4, they will have to go down to the Consolation.
Yeah, we had a clean sweep, basically, 3-0 across the board, and now in our semifinal matchups, we have, two folks that really put in work, honestly, in the quarterfinals between Robert Sweeney and Gabriel Lozano, and then Hayden, Connor, and Ryan Sanborn. And I saw a lot of games where people were mercilessly attacking the F2 or F7 square.
Yeah, there definitely is not a friendliness to these chess games. They are going all out, but the players who did suffer defeat in their first round matchup, there is more chess for them as well. In the consolation bracket, we do have David Gbenda, we do have Liona, Lefau, we'll have Jahdae, Barron, and we will have Christian Jones. They'll be duking it out. But before we get into the chess, Casa, it's going to be a lot of fun in the bracket. We have a special guest. We are bringing on none other than Chidobe Awuzie for an interview. He's going to hang out with us for a bit. And Chido, he's well known to football fans. He's on the Cincinnati Bengals. He's a corner for them. But he also won the first BlitzChamps. Couldn't quite follow it up the way he wanted in BlitzChamps 2, but he's a beast.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we were just talking off camera, and it's been a nice week for him. He's gotten wins on his own team and in his college team. So it's been a nice little stretch for him. So looking forward to it.
Well, he is here right now, so we're going to welcome in Chido Awuzie. Chido, how does it feel to be watching some more football chess overlap right now?
It's beautiful to see. I think there was something special started, 2 years ago now, and these college kids are carrying the torch. So hopefully we're getting some good chess. I see a couple blowouts right now, but yeah.
So as far as your chess and when you're playing and getting into it, what are some of the things that you would basically tell your fellow football players that don't have a lot of experience? What would be the pointers that you'd give them if they're just gonna jump in and play?
Well, if you understand the basic principles of chess, I would definitely tell them, when you're first starting, the hardest thing is to see the whole board. I think a lot of football players, when they play classical and they're playing over the board. When you play on the screen, it's way different. So I would definitely suggest that they just see the whole board. There could be attacks coming from both sides. So just to be aware, just like you're on the football field, keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Chido. It seems like some of the players, especially the newer ones, they don't have that full board awareness just yet. But what was your growth as a chess player like? I know you and Amari used to play a lot. So do you feel like in Cincinnati you've got some good competitors in the locker room?
I've kind of cleaned out the locker room now, but me and Amari still talk chess and play every now and then. So things are still there, in that rivalry. And, we're kind of both at the stage where we're just trying to get, high ratings and stuff like that. I know he had recently reached like 1580, and I reached 1500 for the first time like last month. So, yeah, that's kind of what we've been on. I think since my last Blitz championship, runner-up, I kind of got embarrassed, so I got back on my grind, and I'll be ready for the next one, put it that way.
It is crazy how basically adversity or some challenges or setbacks can kind of propel you forward. And I feel like the start to the Bengals season has kind of been that way. And, it got off to a bit of a slow start. Your quarterback was a little hobbled. And you got a huge win this past week. How do you feel about the rest of the season going forward?
I'm very confident in our chances. I think we've already proven that we have all the pieces that we need. The thing about the NFL, it's a big season of just momentum, and I think that first quarter of the season, usually as football players, we like to look at the season in 4 quarters. You have that first 4 games, second 4 games, third 4 games. Now you have basically 5 games in that last quarter because of the added game in the season. But now we're in the second quarter of the season and we're 1-0. So, we treat it like a brand new season, and hopefully this win gives us the energy and boost that we need to keep it going, and also a formula to keep winning as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Chido, I love that mentality. I mean, next game up, next man up, that's always what you're saying. And speaking of new mentalities and some pretty loud mentalities, what do you make of Coach Prime at your alma mater at Colorado? Are you loving what you're seeing from the Buffs?
Man, I'm loving what I'm seeing. I feel like we're like the new Hollywood. Like, everybody wants to go to Colorado. Everybody wants to check out what the Buffs are doing. Even people on my team telling me, Cheeto, I need a shirt, I need a hoodie. And these guys go to other colleges. They wouldn't be sworn to be seen in any Colorado gear beforehand. But now that Deion's there, it's like the coolest thing. So I'm just really excited for the players, number one, that are there, that get to experience all that hype, all that, all the fandom and all that stuff. And then alumni like me, we've been waiting for, a guy that could really lead correctly, and it looks like he's the guy for the job. So I'm just really excited to see what they're doing, and hopefully, they kind of sneak into that Pac-12 championship or get a good bowl game.
You mentioned splitting up the season into quarters, and I kind of love that. Like, you have like the first 4, next 4. Now there's an extra game, so it's a little hard to do that. But Do you think about the chess game in the same way? Like, how do you approach games that you're playing? Like, I'm just so curious about that because I feel like everyone's perspective is different. You know, whether regardless of their level, you could take the things you could take your experience off the board and kind of put it on the board.
For sure. I think, when in the beginning, I think the biggest struggle is the opening, especially for beginner players, which I guess you could still put me in that bracket. But, playing an opening to, the book and playing it correctly and knowing, exactly how to counter the game. And then obviously you have the middle game. I think that's where, the pure genius or if you know tactics or if you're just a smart guy, maybe you can, kind of default on that versus, your actual chess knowledge. And then you also have the end game, which again, I think is very tactical and you have to be exact. But I think right now in the stage I'm in, it's like the opening is very important to set my pieces up right. And then in the middle is kind of where I start to be able to get creative. And then the end game, I always told Amari when we used to play, I'm like Magnus Carlsen with the end games, but I was definitely a much lower rating than obviously Magnus Carlsen and a lot of people. But I like to think that way because if it was me, a king, 2 pawns versus his king and 2 pawns, I always thought I had the upper edge. So yeah.
Hey, I love that mentality, Cheeto. I mean, you to be the best, you gotta beat the best. Sometimes you gotta think you are the best in advance. But I know your game. You've been getting better. Do you remember those games we played way back when where I had like 10 seconds and you had a few minutes back when you were streaming? So I've seen your progress.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was the birth of something very special for me. Just seeing how involved the chess community is. The chess community is one of the best communities I think in all of streaming and gaming or whatever you want to call it. It's just a very good community. The age ranges are amazing, and I love to be a part of it. And appreciate you hopping on stream that one day, giving me a little taste of what it takes to be a grandmaster. Maybe in 10, 20 years I'll get there. Nah, but definitely fun stuff.
Yeah, well, you can stay around for a bit, call some chess with us. You want to hop on as a commentator? We want to hear your thoughts.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
All right. Well, we're going to have all 4 matches starting in a moment here, and we'll pull some of the games up. Of course, the first round of action, they were clean sweeps. They were pretty one-sided. But as we get into these later matchups, Cheeto, you know all about this. Some of these matchups, they get much tougher as the players even out. So we'll probably start with Robert Sweeney. He's 992 in Blitz, but 1200 Rapid, and he's playing against Gabriel. So, Cheeto, you like what you're seeing out of the opening thus far?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, pawns aren't protected. Beginner players, but that's to be expected. Probably just thinking about attacking. So we'll see what goes on. He's already going for what you call that, the fried liver. So, okay.
Yeah. Oh, do you have any? Did you like playing against the fried liver or playing with it? What's your take on which side would you prefer if you were dealing with this one?
At this level, definitely I'd prefer white's chances, just because I mean at this stage of chess, if you're on black and you're feeling attacked, maybe you make a couple of mistakes. But it looks like black is definitely playing very well right now.
Robert, I'm actually shocked. This is an incredible level right now that we're seeing with this.
Yeah.
This is insane. This is like preparation, basically.
I feel like Gabriel is hustling out here because this is a variation that you would have to study to play. White is about to get checkmated because this rook is hanging, and the only way to save the rook is to slide it over, and then he has to move his queen back to e4, and this game is about to be over. Like, this is a shocker to Robert Sweeney, who's the highest player. The king is going to run out of moves, and hey, man, this is just how it goes sometimes. If someone does the work, puts in that work, gets that coaching, there's sometimes not much you can do.
Yeah, and Jahdae, if the rook does go to f1, then the queen can dart back to e4 with check, but then the bishop has to block, and then there's a smothered mate. Do you see that smothered mate? Oh, okay, he blocked with the queen. So he actually saw that he decided not to get smothered mated, but
yeah.
That is
fire.
Oh,
he
take
queen with his knight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This
Now,
level,
the interesting
you
thing
never know
is,
it. This is chess at its purest form right here. You don't never know what's gonna happen.
it makes it entertaining for us, So the funny thing about it is Black is still up a piece, still in control, and it's a question of converting. And I always feel like there's two ways to convert in a lot of positions. You can trade all the pieces, or you could checkmate. Which one do you prefer, Cheeto?
If I'm facing a stronger opponent, I'll definitely just trade pieces and try to use my advantage, use my board control and stuff like that. But when I'm playing Blitz, things can get a little hasty. I might just want to crush somebody too. So.
Yeah, I feel it. It's funny because I feel like in football it happens all the time where it's like, do you essentially, run the ball, run out the clock? There was a team in college football this week that didn't take a knee and they lost the game. And so,
that was terrible.
I just feel like sometimes, that was historic, right? That was historically strange, to put it kindly. Man. So
that's one of those unforgivable moments where like you just do the simple thing.
Nah, for sure. I think you definitely always want to play the percentages. If you're in a halftime or end of game situation and you can run out the clock to win the game, run out the clock to win the game. I feel like a lot of people that play Madden, even they may be up on the score, but then they want to get the extra touchdown just to rub it in the person's face, and then they end up throwing a game-losing interception for a pick six. So you don't really see it in real life, but that was very unfortunate was that the Miami Hurricanes? So.
Yep. Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. All right, so the game did even out a little bit. White's king went on this Sherman's march to the G4 square and took that bishop, and all of a sudden the tides have turned again because there's discovery check. This rook on h8 is hanging whenever Robert might feel like taking it. Not to be confused with Robert Hess. We're talking about Robert Sweeney over here. And we might get a few more twists and turns.
Yeah, we are. He didn't take that rook in the corner, and now, the eval bar, it's like a seesaw right now going up and down. And there are opportunities, like this move rook f5 at the right moment with both pieces, but I can't predict anything, Cheeto. One question I have for you, as this game is just getting crazy over here, is be honest with us. Do you ever think about chess while you're on the football field? Come on, tell us the truth.
All right. I think about chess when I'm in the locker room. That's probably as furthest as chess gets into my head. But once I exit the locker room onto the field, it's all football at that point.
The man's got to be locked in, Robert. But you know what?
Yeah.
Actually, I will put it. One thing I will say, and because now you play chess, you're enveloped in the chess world. So often we hear coaches being like, "It's a chess match. It's a game, moving the pieces on the field and so on." And now that you play chess, are you more and positive or enthusiastic about those analogies, or are you just like, man, you don't even know what you're talking about?
They never really know what they're talking about. They just know that chess is complicated to them, so that basically for them is like something that's hard to understand or takes preparation and stuff. But you ask these guys that say these things, if they actually play chess, they probably stopped playing a long time ago or aren't very good. No offense to all my football guys out there, but yeah.
All right. Well, at least we appreciate your honesty. We appreciate the honesty.
I still don't know. I mean, Cheeto, I'm not trying to call you out here, but like, let's say you're lined up against Amari. You're really not gonna rag on him for beating him in chess. Like, if you guys are on the field there, I feel like that's part of your dynamic now.
Yeah, I think that's part of our dynamic. And, interestingly enough, I face him twice a year now since he's on the Browns. And, we played last year and then we played the first game this year. And things are actually kind of calm. I think since we are friends, yes, I could, be disrespectful, but that's not really part of my game ever. Unless someone disrespects me, that's when I disrespect them. But, with me and Amar, we're just straight business. And then after the game, we talk shop and stuff. So it's pretty much how our relationship goes.
All right. Well, I respect that, and I think I'm respecting both these players a little more by their turns here. It seems that the material's evened up. And Cheeto, if you had to guess which side's going to win this game, taking the clock into account because there's no extra time, no increment, who you got in this one, black or white?
I got white. Black had chances, and sometimes you just don't never get those chances back. It looks like white's starting to settle in, and they're obviously the higher rated player. So, I mean, right here it looks like they're just going to try to, play a couple checks, and that's always safe. But at some point they're going to have to try to win this game. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because we've had so many twists and turns, and now the material is equal again somehow, which is just wild to me given what we've seen. But here we go. We're going to be back on the seesaw again. But I think does the eval bar actually bother you a little bit, or like does it detract from what you're trying to do? Do you enjoy seeing the? Because basically, when I grew up playing, we didn't have this. And so it's such a different dynamic now where there's so much scrutiny behind what you're doing. And I feel like it's the same in almost every discipline. In football, there's way more scrutiny, right? There's analytics, there's all this stuff going on is telling you whether what you're doing is right or wrong. And I feel like it's a balance, but the balance is not always observed. And so I'm just curious what you think about that.
Yeah, I think let me start with football, which is my expertise. A lot of the purity of the game, the pure, joy, or like the tough guy, that kind of stuff has kind of been diminished from football. And now it's all about analytics, playing to the percentages and doing stuff like that. And in some cases that increases efficiency, but obviously, for true football fans who maybe see a person's character or see a person's work ethic, and are able to respect the player for that. Now it's kind of like, oh, what's his PFF grade? What's his efficient grade and stuff like that. So I think that it takes away from the game, but it also obviously increases the game just because we're talking about making the game better with efficiency. So the next generation should usually come out of that better than the older generation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And while we had you talking about that, Robert, yeah, take it away. We had a change in the terms and conditions just now.
Well, Robert did take it away, not me, but Robert Sweeney wins on time, but he also had a winning position there. And Gabriel Lozano, great preparation, but couldn't deliver the knockout, and that allowed his higher-rated opponent, who he has in his background. This is hilarious, Cheeto. I love the way that they keep putting their background as their opponent.
I was trying to figure out what was going on here, but I guess it's a trolling mechanism or something.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, well, it looks like the trolling didn't quite pan out for Gabriel. He had a great start, but it didn't end in his favor. And so, Cheeto, I just want to ask you, as by the way, the first game between Hayden Connor and Ryan Sanborn was a win for Hayden. I mean, how do you feel when you feel like you prepared a good game, but you can't quite find the way to finish? Does that happen to you sometimes, and how does that affect you in your analysis?
Oh yeah, man. Mental errors are the worst. Obviously it's stuff that you are prepared for. You knew that was coming, but you didn't do what you know. I remember when I became runner-up of the last tournament, my mom had texted me, Cheeto, these mental errors, this is the same stuff in life, I'm like, oh my gosh, man. So I got to get up my A game. So definitely they linger for a little bit, but you figure out what you did wrong, then lock back in for next time.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it all the way 100. I throw out my losses, like, just mentally as soon as possible. Like
That's
because if it lingers, right, like it's so tough when it lingers because it just affects the next game or the next moment or the next series, right, or the next down, however you want to chop it up. And but sometimes they do linger, so it's always funny to see how easy it is to actually throw it away.
No, for sure. I think it's definitely important to flesh it, analyze it, then flesh it. But yeah, when it comes to chess, at least, it's something that I definitely feel like I have stuff. I grudges with certain players because they got the best of me, and I need to get them back.
Well, Cheeto, before we let you go, we got to hear some names. Come on, who do you got a grudge against right now?
The Blitz champion last year, got a grudge with him. Amari Cooper, we have an eternal grudge that will go till we die. I have a grudge with Joe Burrow. He actually beat me last time, so congrats to him. Yeah, those will say my three grudges.
Wait, but you said that you run the locker room and he beat you the last time you played, so I feel like those two don't really add up right there.
See, the thing about it is the locker room's a very fragile place. You have a starting quarterback who is injured. I'm trying to give him a little confidence boost, I don't want to do my, what I'm saying? I'm just trying to give him a little confidence boost, something he can hang his hat on. So that has more to do with that. Hopefully he's not watching this and he takes that win to his heart. So good.
Football player and psychologist. We love it.
Oh, well, Cheeto, I mean, we appreciate you hanging with us, stopping by. Always we love having you. Maybe you and I got to get some games in soon. So, as always, feel free to hit me up. But in the meantime, we'll let you go. We know you got a lot going on, but we really do appreciate you stopping by and hanging out.
I appreciate y'all. Find me on chess.com. And, yeah, we'll definitely get some games in. Yeah, excited to see these guys who dukes it out and wins.
All right.
Peace.
Thanks so much, Cheeto. We will be hearing from him soon. Casa, Cheeto is awesome. I went into Cheeto's stream. Like, that's how it all started. He was just streaming some chess, and I just, challenged him while he was on stream. And he lit up, and he just savored the opportunity to play. And he actually, I think, beat me in one of the games, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think I have a grudge to score with him.
Hey, competition it's real, and I think when you're dealing with elite athletes too, right? That competition can permeate so many different things beyond your number one discipline. That's what I love to see is people that have that kind of dogged approach to things they're actually not yet great at, and you could definitely just sense the energy there. I love it. So really good to see.
And you say energy, and I look at this position. There's a king on c3. So the last move was a mistake, queen to b6. There was a drawing mechanism. I can just quickly go back and show that here, queen b6 was an error. Queen d4, king d2. This can go back and forth and force a draw. But instead, the queen went to b6, and another mistake followed up. Casa, if black throws in d5 at any point, queen takes b4 is a checkmate threatened. So this is something that's very easy to overlook for Ryan Sanborn.
Yeah, and I'm not putting it past Hayden here. I think Hayden has done really well, given that he basically lost a massive amounts of material early to kind of keep the game going. And I like his intention, even though maybe not followed up in the best way. I like the intention. Now I'm a little bit concerned about queen takes a1 here, which is supernatural because now after bishop b2, it's actually the queen on a1 that is trapped, and Ryan finds it.
I might have to start calling him Ryan Corley over there because you spoke it into existence. He finds it. That queen is trapped. And Casa, it's so frustrating when you play a natural move that picks up an entire rook, and yet your queen is the one that is going to suffer the consequences. That's trapped. It's protected. All of White's pieces are safe. So this is going to be now cleanup duty for Ryan Sanborn.
Yeah, and I will say this. It's so often when you see these queen traps actually happen, you look at the rest of the pieces the opponent has, and they're not doing anything. And so the problem there is that after queen takes a1, a few moves back, all of black's other pieces were basically on the back rank and not really influencing the game, and that's why that stuff happens. And so when you're really trying to figure out whether something looks good or is decent, ask yourself, how are my other pieces doing? And usually you take that temperature check and you're able to figure out whether you're doing the right thing. And here we go. Excellent sacrifice by Ryan with knight takes d6. He sees the mate in 2. There's going to be checkmate on d7 on the next move.
That was nasty. He saw this. Oh, okay, I take it back. He didn't see the checkmate, but he did see a way to win even more pieces. And I think he's pre-moving out there. He's up 2 minutes on the clock. He's up, I don't even know how much material. A knight, bishop, rook, and queen. And so he is getting the job done, but he's evening up this score. So, Costa, this feels like a match that can go either way at this stage.
No question about it. And whenever Ryan is doing well, he smiles. So if you just want to look and check him out on camera, when he makes a move and he feels good about it, he smiles. And he has like a light smirk going on right now. He's a bit more focused now, but he's going to probably reel this in either on the board or on the clock very shortly.
And I'm trying to figure out what's in Hayden's background right now because they're trolling each other, and that is a win for Ryan. He evens up the match.
Whoa.
What is happening there?
Look at that. That must be a very, very young photo of of our guy. That is a young photo of Ryan, right? And here we go, a young photo of Hayden to follow it up. You love to see it.
I wonder if they had a communal pot of pictures where they all just sharing the photos with one another.
That was the first time.
Otherwise, they were digging deep. Maybe they hit up each other's parents like, "Hey, can you send me an embarrassing photo of your?" Not that photo was embarrassing. Not to insult a football player live on camera. It was a great photo. It's really nice. I'm glad that we showed that.
We're about to see a checkmate on the board in Liona Lefau's game. I see this. I always love to call this checkmate X marks the spot. It's in the bottom left against David Gbenda. The queen and the bishop are almost like making an X marks the spot on the G7 square. Do you see what I'm seeing there?
I'm seeing what you're seeing. It looks like it's about to be a checkmate. They call it also the lobster pincer. That's what it's been known as, thanks to XQC. But that is about to be checkmate in one move, and Liona Lefau is going to score a much-needed victory as he is down by a point against David Gbenda.
I also see Hayden and Ryan are back at it, and we have a checkmate in one threat. Hayden is very quickly trying to mercilessly get at the F7 square. Okay, we're back in Leona's game for a moment here, and there's a checkmate in one in a few different ways. Oh! Is that a mouse slip?
I don't see any reaction. Oh my gosh, and there's no other move but to take the queen, right? You can't move your king anywhere. There are no legal moves for that. It could have been checkmate in one, but instead he drops his queen, and black has not spotted it yet.
Oh my! I think David's just like, what happened? I can take the. Well, I think the first thing you have to realize is that it's not checkmate actually, because if you don't see that the queen could be captured, you're trying to figure out where to move your king, and you won't be allowed. And here we go. David found HHG6, and now Liona is looking around like, man, what just happened?
I think they might be near each other. The way they were just looking off screen and laughing and talking. I hope that they're in the same room, but I hope for Lefau here, he's going to drop his bishop if David sees that.
Get up out of there. Get up out of there.
Second, things can get out of hand.
Yeah, and here we go. The bishop is now dropped as well. White is still up a whole rook and 20 seconds on the clock. So David's going to need a lot more help to get out of this one, but he is alive.
Oh,
he's alive. He's kicking. White has a ton of extra material. So with proper play, with best moves, of course, White is in the driver's seat, and I love that move. Push your passed pawns. The black king is stuck on the side. Why not a rook lift and go for checkmate if that black rook were ever to leave the king's defense? So you're pushing a passed pawn. Okay, rook takes h2. That's going to lose you a rook, and then the rest should be a matter of technique, as they say.
Yeah, I think the ladder mates typically reign supreme in the BlitzChamps events, and this rook could get to h1 shortly.
And we can hear the players chatting. I heard a bro and some crunching, so it sounds like it's snack time.
nope.
David is juking those checks.
You want to do a little trade? I'm thinking I could just do the same thing. Nope. I know.
And you can hear some of the other players in the background.
I see what you're doing.
You had to sacrifice, bro. I know. It is what it is, though, bro. Get up out of there. No, I had to sacrifice. What?
Casa, I don't even know who's had to sacrifice what, but this is going to be a cool checkmate on this board.
Would you promote to a rook, Robert?
God dang, bro.
I think I would have.
Yeah. It's okay, bro. I got you next game. For sure.
All right. David says he's got him next game, so we'll look to see.
Got him next game. For sure.
I'm hungry. I'm going to be honest with you, Casa. Right now, it's past 9 o'clock here in London, and I'm getting hungry watching them just eat their food.
Yeah. I feel that. I totally feel that.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Well, they're having a good time over there. So maybe we should go back to Robert Sweeney because it looks like he is trying to win his match. If he wins this third game, he is through to the Champions Bracket Final. So, Casa, once again, there's a problem in the F7 square.
Yeah, we're seeing it time and time again. This F7 square is just mercilessly attacked, and we've seen a lot of rooks in the corner go, and knight takes h8 is doing just that. Now, Black does have a concentration of piece in the middle. This knight on d4, this bishop on g4. If Black's queen could get in somewhere, and e4, that is an excellent practical try. Trying to open up the queen on e7 against that white king on e1. That is an excellent attempt to mix things up. I love it.
And look at that move. Bishop f7 check by Robert Sweeney. This knight on d4 now can be captured with check as well. So that was a two-move combo here, picking up that very important knight for free. This white king, if it hasn't moved already, it can castle kingside, and I don't see any semblance of an attack for Gabriel. I think Robert, he's really in charge right now, playing some great chess.
Yeah, my only thing would be because he didn't castle in the last few moves, I'd be surprised if he did now. Although now he can trade queens, which is maybe perhaps just as effective, just making sure the queens come off the board and you maintain your big material advantage. And then we might have some Pac-Man scenarios down the line.
Love a good game of Pac-Man. Doesn't matter what ghosts are in your way, you just dodge them, eat until your heart's content, and then win the game. So we see a check, and Robert is up a ton of material. He should be able to convert this. If I'm counting correctly, he's up a rook and a minor piece, and some pawns. So rook, knight, and a few pawns extra for white. Yeah, Casa, Robert Sweeney, he has this one in the bag. I feel confident saying that.
Yeah, he's up the farm, and I trust he will. And he does go for castling, so he realizes, you know what, I even have time to do that as well. So impressive stuff.
And it sounds like somebody's talking, but I don't see Robert or Gabriel's mouth moving. So I think it's just their teammates.
Oh, I swore. Okay.
Yeah. Perhaps we should go to the Sanborn and Ryan and Hayden game, actually, because they're tied 1-1 right now.
That seems like a good place to go. We are pretty confident Robert Sweeney will take his match. So why don't we go to Hayden and Ryan as they have each won a game. Casa, I think we're tuning in at a moment where all of Hayden's pieces have disappeared. And it seems like Ryan, even though he lost the first game, he is in charge and storming back.
I'm a little surprised here because White's king is castled, and we've seen the castled king really be the side that castles really is the one that typically has won the game. So I'm guessing somewhere along the way there was the queen was lost. But I like what Hayden is trying to do, trying to pry open the D line and get a little bit closer to hitting at that king. When you're down material, you need to try and create some chances. And we also must say, Hayden is up a minute. And so as Ryan gets under 40 seconds, will he convert?
I don't know what that was, but some people are really animated right now, having a good time. And Casa, I gotta say, I love it. I love it when the players are pumped up.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm honestly really curious whether Ryan will win this in 30 seconds.
I'm just busy enjoying whoever's talking in the background. They're having a great time. Crossset feels like Ryan. Oh, that scared me. I don't even know what's happening anymore, but they're just coming out of nowhere. It's silent for a moment, and then it gets loud. But this attack is going to fizzle out. And I think if I were Ryan, I would even just take the rook that's about to land on d7 and get rid of all of White's pieces.
13, 12, 11. Will Ryan be able to pre-move his way to victory? He's realizing his queen is hanging, but he has enough material. Hayden is doing a great job of prolonging this game, it must be said.
And sometimes that actually allows you to score victories. And we have to remind everybody, there is no increment, no time added per move. And you see Ryan pre-moving. So at least he has that going for him. He missed checkmate in 1. He needs that as he only has 9 seconds left.
Yeah, but I'm very impressed that Ryan is pre-moving. It's impressive. He seems to have some experience with it because he is just blitzing down the board.
He's got to force checkmate if he brings his queen over. He instead is going for a new queen, but costs 4.5 seconds left. He needs to deliver a checkmate, otherwise he might lose on time.
Yeah, given that Ryan's been pre-moving, I'd make a tricky move with the knight, like or pawn. There we go. That's a good choice.
But look at Hayden's clock. He's down to 10 seconds himself, and he's clearly the slower player between the two. And okay, I think Ryan's just gonna win on time.
Yeah, wow. Oh my God, he is run, Forrest, run. You know, he doesn't know about pre-moving. He doesn't know about pre-moving. Wow.
And
what a
look
turnaround.
At Hayden's face. He can't believe it. He wasn't looking at his own clock, only Ryan's. And Ryan, he is in good shape now, as Hayden can only be consoled by his teammates and friends who are in the background. That young photo of Ryan Sanborn. He's all grown up now, and he's up 2-1, knocking on the door of the Champions Bracket Final.
Yeah, the similar smile, similar smile. Just knowing he just got away with one.
I'm good too.
Because he did, and I must say those pre-moving skills were really, really impressive. Like, I mean, if he can pre-move like that when he's in trouble, I'm very concerned for whoever he may meet next if he does indeed move on to the final.
It does look like Robert Sweeney is and officially has made his way through to the Champions Bracket Final. Will it be Ryan Sanborn or Hayden Condor against him? That remains to be seen. But we also are seeing some fun in the Consolation Bracket. Our bottom 2 boards on our screen here. It looks like Lefau, he is 1-1 against David Gbenda, but here in Game 3, it looks like he is well in charge.
Yeah, this Leona Lefau has this incredible knight on e3. I love to affectionately call this an octopus knight. It's basically entrenched in White's in the middle of White's position, and it prevents that white king on e1 from going everywhere. If you look at that knight on e3, it can fan out to so many different squares, and it prevents the king from really darting left or right in a really meaningful way. So, very annoying.
And it also attacks the bishop, which can now be grabbed as the rook moved back. It also threatens this pawn on c2 if the queen were ever to move. And b4, I like the look of it. It does technically hang a knight in the center. But David hung his queen instead.
That's the queen. And David just grimaced because he realized that queen was taken. And it's funny when sometimes pieces drop and they don't produce the same effect, but when the queen is dropped, everyone makes a face because they know that piece matters. Yeah, here we go. So Leona's kind of jumping on David now, and it's going to be tough sledding. This 9e3 is so good. And what do you know? There's a beautiful, beautiful checkmate pattern that can be had in just a few moves, because this bishop on e7, if it gets to h4 cleanly, that is checkmate with the knight on e3 and the pawn on c3, both covering squares that the king can escape to. So that's what I'm looking at. If we might have a nice possibility of a bishop h4 mate down the line. Right now the knight's protecting the f3 square, but here we go. Did I just call it? Might go for queen f2 mate, but bishop takes h4, it's, see a piece, take a piece, and it happens to be checkmate. Okay.
Didn't take it. The good news
That's
is
fine.
he's up on the clock, and now he can take it with checkmate. So he has knight takes c2 checkmate. He plays queen h4, and Lefau does steal game 3 and moves 1 point closer to the Consolation bracket finals. And David Gbenda, he's struggling right now, but Lefau, he's got it going on.
Yeah, and right now I think he's just chilling. He has an understanding what he won the match, feeling pretty good, checking the phone, seeing who's watching him right now be effective, and impressive stuff.
Okay, so we still have 2 games going on the right-hand side of our screen, and Ryan Sanborn, he is up 2-1. But as we look at the current position, wow, this has been a messy scramble where it's turned around in a turn. Casa, that was a discovered check against the Black King. So if we can pull up the board here, look at this. Knight c6 check was what was happening. And now, you're not going to believe this, everybody. The only move that saves Black is knight e4 counter check because your queen is under attack. I don't blame anybody for missing knight e4 check to the enemy king.
Yeah, frankly, I was looking at the eval bar from afar, and I was like, wait, what? And then I realized, oh my gosh, the knight could block, because when you see this type of discovered check, you just assume that the king will have to move, and that'll be it. But this 94 check, that would be a brilliant move to spot, even for a player of a much higher rating. So very, very, very impressive move. And yeah, now Ryan has that cheeky smile he had before because he recognizes he's in control, and he's up a piece, and he's 2 pieces. He's going to be 2 pieces in a second. Yeah, he scoops up that knight on a1, and now he's doing what I love to call vacuuming the board, making sure he gets rid of all these pieces. If I had to predict, he's going to munch on c7 next with the bishop.
Here's my first question, Casa. Does he know? He does.
He does.
I was wondering if he knew en passant. And for those of you who are not familiar, the last move, it went 2 squares. You can capture it as if it moved 1, just for this turn only. He sees that. Now he has a passer. So sorry to interrupt there, Casa. I was just curious. Would he find it? He does. And now I'm starting to believe that when he faces off against Robert Sweeney, he has a legitimate shot.
Yeah, and again, the pre-moving is really impressive. I mean, it's not needed, but it's impressive. Now he's going to try and support that c7 pawn. And so he brings the rook to the e file, trying to trade rooks. Doesn't happen, and now he's going to install a knight on b5. Yeah, he understands how to support this pawn. He's going to try and eliminate that rook and push the c pawn home.
Well done from Ryan Sanborn. And it was one of those moments where the eval bar can be a bit misleading because the only way for Black to stay in the game was to give away a knight in the center. That is not intuitive. So a nice find there from Ryan Sanborn. He lost game 1, Casa. Let's not forget, he was down 1-0, and suddenly he's on the tear. And for Hayden Connor, it's going to send him into the consolation match in the Champions bracket.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get a finals matchup that is going to be pretty good, actually, because what Ryan has shown the last few games, just with the speed with which he plays, he had that close call in game 2 where he was down a minute on the clock in a dominant position. He managed to actually come back in that game. So now I predict a ladder mate. This is the pattern that everyone knows, where you're almost like you're climbing a ladder with your heavy pieces. So very impressive stuff right there, and there you have it. He's advanced to the final.
I'm excited to see the background change, but for Hayden, he seems pretty upset. That little kid in shoulder pads behind him has just shown him that his chess skills are up to the task. And so for Ryan Sanborn, he will meet Robert Sweeney. And Casa, what that means is we have not had a defensive player make it through to the BlitzChamps final. So the defenders, they are struggling. And the collegiate level, of course, we just had Chidobe Awuzie. He made it, not just made it, he won the original BlitzChamps.
Yeah, it's again, in college football right now, offense is kind of leading the way. All these spread offense, even in the pro style setups in the NFL. It's a pass-happy league. That's the analogy I'm going to give here in the chessboard. we have attack happy, checkmate happy type of games. So it's to be expected. You expect to see a lot of attacks and sort of dominant games when you're playing at this level, and I think we're getting a show. We're getting a lot of really cool checkmating patterns you don't see every day.
Yeah, it's nice to see the aggressive chess shown by these players, and I think one other thing we should note, in addition to the fact that no defensive players in these college BlitzChamps have made it to the final, we just stopped the streak. The first two were won by wide receivers. Cornelius Johnson took the first one. He led things for these college BlitzChamps events, and now we have a final with an O-lineman and a punter. So we no longer have wide receivers as winning the event, and I think that's good news for the rest of the field.
Yeah. So what are we looking at right now? We have Leona Lefau trying to close out his match in the Consolation semifinals. He's up a lot of material, and the question is, what is he going to do next? He's going to pick off that rook in the corner on A8, or is he going to do something? Oh, and that queen on E2 is hanging. It was hanging, folks. But the reason you didn't see the bar move is because white actually still would have enough material for that queen. So Leona notices it, darts out the way, and things are relatively back to normal, which is, white being up a boatload of material and about to collect some more.
And David in great spirits. Even though all his pieces are leaving the board, it seems like the smile will not leave his face. He's having a good time competing against his teammates. And a bishop just was lost. This rook was hanging. Now he instead can take this bishop on D6. But Casa, 3 extra minor pieces. 2 knights and a bishop ahead is white. So it should be well in the bag for him.
I'll tell you how this game could turn, though. If there is a queen dropped at some point, it could get very interesting. If we just picked up white's queen off the board somehow, you could have some interesting conversation about it being a very messy and tricky position. So I'm always a huge advocate of trading when you're up material, so I would say, Leona, take on C6, trade those queens, you're up a lot of material. But a lot of, again, we've said it before, style points. These guys want to win and checkmate and basically vacuum the board, and so Leona says no to the trade, and that's going to allow David to hang around just a little bit longer.
I pre-moved like 16 minutes.
Yeah, with the queens on the board, there's still chances against the white king. I'm also looking at the clock. It's not just a one-sided affair anymore. If David can use the time as the 17th piece, as James Candy likes to say, and for example, knight f3, was that pre-moved by white? That hangs a piece on the spot.
Yeah, and again, keeping the queens on the board does keep David's chance around. So rook takes f3, take the knight with the rook so as to not trade queens and still attack that queen on g3, and, it becomes a different game.
But now the clock is in Lefau's favor, so for Gbenda, it's seeming like he's staring defeat in the face, and that would give young Lefau the match. But this knight f3 can be captured. That would be the best try for him, but he is stuck in the mud. He is not finding a move to his liking.
Yeah, I'm wondering what he would do if he doesn't take that knight. Maybe he'll get his rook on f8 into the game. That's hanging behind the f7 pawn. He moves his queen. Okay. Now the knight on e2 is also hanging. I think he might see it. David is looking like he understands that knight is hanging right now. There's a look like, hold on, can I do it? Can I do it?
Yeah, it's confused, but also what Lefau's doing best is he's just pre-moving everything, or moving instantly. So he doesn't care if he loses all his pieces as long as he wins on the clock. And he's now up a minute on time. He should be able to see this through unless he pre-moves into a checkmate.
If you weren't able to pre-move, I think it would have won. Who did that? Oh, why'd you do that?
Oh, no!
Who are you playing?
I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about I am a little worried about him. I'm not worried about him. I know what I'm going to do. I'm not worried about him.
I'm winning now. You leave and I'm winning now.
Make your move. Make your move. Ooh, what are you talking about? Yeah. Who I'm playing next? You beat Christian? Quick thinking. Smoked him. Really smoked him, bro. Where is he?
David is not phased.
But you can hear Jahdae in the background being like, "Oh, you beat Christian? I smoked him."
Swing.
There's no way he's
I'm enjoying the talk between the players.
Oh, that's a setup.
And in this
I'm
one,
gone. I'm
it looks
out
like
of
David is speeding
No.
up, but he is down so much time, and he is also down a lot of material. So, and there goes the rook. So if
Backwards moves are tough. Oh, and he finds it quickly. That is a quick capture. And David, with his head in his hands now, is like, man, I gave you all these pieces.
He's like, I thought you were a friend. Stop stealing everything from me. Give me a chance. But no, and there is no chance for David in this game. And that means that he will be facing Christian in the Consolation bracket in the final matchup. But you see David just throwing away all his pieces for good measure.
Leona's like, Christmas is not till December. We still got a few more months.
0.1 seconds left for David.
I had it ready.
The time? But I was going to say, imagine if his internet crashed or he wasn't paying attention. That would have been a crazy swim.
And this is what we love to see, because David just lost, but he looks like he won, so that we love to see that energy. Liona as well, he actually won and is feeling good. And look at David popping in the background, giving his boys some props, some credit. And there we go. Yep.
Do you see a Texas A&M jersey on the screen? I feel like you can't do that. Maybe there was a transfer happening, things of that nature, but I don't know what to make of that.
Let bygones be bygones. I think that's what that's about. He's in the right home now.
Okay, well, that's a nice way of putting it. That is letting bygones be bygones. You heard it from Casa, but just looking at that there on the screen, it kind of hurt any Texas fans' heart. But we have Robert Sweeney and Ryan Sanborn in the Champions Bracket Final. They move on while Gabriel, Lozano, and Hayden Connor will face one another. And then in the Consolation Bracket, Lefau, he wins his match, as does Jahdae Barron. So we will see those two square off in the Consolation Finals. Casa, some really fun matchups from these players.
Yeah, Hayden really put up a good fight against Ryan. And, at the end of the day, Ryan's speed was just incredible. Robert has probably been the best chess player in the field. Ryan has been the fastest, so I think that's going to be a great finals. And, in the Consolation Finals, we're having guys that also have gotten better through the course of this event. I think Leona Lefau definitely proved that. We'll see what happens next.
And it's important that some players are improving. They may not have so much experience, and they're getting better with each and every game of experience. So as we look at the bracket, you mentioned Leona Lefau is somebody who's improving. I think that we have seen that Ryan Sanborn, after that first game against Hayden Connor, he improved. He won 3 straight. He takes on Robert Sweeney, and this is the matchup I think we could have expected in advance between the top 2 seeds. Casa, that pre-moving, I thought that was pretty sweet from Ryan.
Yeah, I honestly want to give, Ryan like the 60% edge here just because of how fast he was. But Sweeney's been so consistent that I think he deserves to be a slight favorite.
Yeah, he hasn't lost a single game, so that makes sense. And then the Consolation bracket, there are players who are getting better. We saw Lefau beat David Gbenda, and then Jahdae Barron took down Christian Jones. We didn't actually focus on that so much, but we heard Jahdae talking, saying like, yeah, I crushed that guy. It wasn't close. So there's some confidence being built from those two, and maybe they will be able to take down the Consolation bracket, as Christian Jones and David Gbenda will be in the 3rd place match in the Consolation. So we've had a really fun day thus far. It is not over. You will not want to miss the rest. And you won't want to miss anything BlitzChamps related, because this may be our 3rd college BlitzChamps. We've had 2 NFL versions. So if you've enjoyed our series of BlitzChamps events, join the brand new BlitzChamps Club on chess.com. As a club member, you unlock an exclusive chance to play chess with NFL and college football stars like Larry Fitzgerald and Chidobe Awuzie, plus access to giveaways, AMAs, and more. Use the command BlitzClub in chat to join now. And well, the players, they're getting set for their final matches of the day. We will join them for a break, but when we return, we'll also be joined by a special guest. You will not want to go anywhere. BlitzChamps Texas continues in just a few.
Anyone who has played even a small amount of chess, especially online, is familiar with the concept of an opening trap. We've all fallen for one at some point or another. In many cases, a failed opening trap will leave you with a terrible position, but not always. We've compiled 10 opening traps that are not only guaranteed to work, but if your opponent doesn't fall for them exactly, you'll still have a decent position. Number 2, Legal's Mate. This opening trap, if your opponent cooperates, can lead to one of the most beautiful and famous checkmates in chess. Named after Sire de Legal, it dates back all the way to the 18th century. It occurs in an Italian game, and in this position we play knight c3. Black might play bishop g4, pinning the knight to white's queen, and we can play h3, forcing black to make a decision about the light-squared bishop. If they retreat with bishop h5, this allows the brilliant knight takes e5, where a free queen is offered. If black takes the bait and grabs the queen, can you spot the famous mate in 2? That's right. Bishop takes f7, king e7, which is forced, knight d5 mate. So, if our opponent does not take the queen bait, is this a dubious position? Not at all. Black's best response is knight takes e5, allowing white to win the light-squared bishop with queen takes h5, and after black takes the bishop on c4, white can win the piece right back with a queen check on b5, picking up the knight on the following turn no matter what black's response is. White is up a pawn with control of the center, a great place to be out of the opening.
Chess grandmasters can lose 10 pounds and burn 6,000 calories just by sitting.
Yeah, so I've actually been spending a lot of time getting in shape. Wow, that's great. What are you doing? Mostly like rook lifts. Oh, I've never heard of that. It's a thing. Don't look it up.
On the gridiron, success is measured in a 60-minute gauntlet of athletic resilience and mental fortitude. The ability to outplay and outthink one's opponent is the difference between that sweet victory and crushing defeat. And on these 64 squares, much is the same. It's a battle of will, grit, and determination, minus the bone-crushing hits, of course. But what happens when the two cross paths? This.
2, 1. Oh, mate!
BlitzChamps is back, but this time the spotlight shines on the University of Texas as their squad turn their attention from the field to the chessboard.
Oh!
Instead of end zone, it's end game. Instead of quarterback sacks, it's queen sacks. Instead of check downs, it's checkmates. All the metaphors you can handle. With some serious bragging rights among teammates on the line, the locker room trash talk just might be a little elevated this season. So, put the cleats and pads away and get ready to lead your 16 chessmen to glory. This is BlitzChamps Texas, and it starts now.
Beautiful Austin, Texas, home to the University of Texas Longhorns. That is University Tower. You see it, the beautiful scenery in Austin. It's probably a beautiful day there today as well. And the chess players, they're having fun. And yes, I call them chess players, Casa, because these American football players today, they're chess players.
No question about it. They are definitely showing their wits on the chessboard today, and we've seen a lot of really entertaining games and really wild checkmates that you don't usually see. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, some checkmates that are fun for some players, not so fun for others, but they will have time to learn after this event. But we know who is going to the final in the champions bracket. No surprises, I don't think. It's Robert Sweeney, and it is Ryan Sanborn. So, Casa, when we look at these matchups, I think they check out.
Yeah, no question. Robert has been probably the strongest player in this field. That is Mr. Sweeney, that is. And Ryan Sanborn's been the fastest. So it's made a lot of sense that we have that final. And Hayden and Gabriel Lozano were both really good in their matches as well. So everything makes sense in the champions bracket to me, Robert.
It does indeed, and while this is the champions bracket, there's also the consolation bracket, and we see that Lefau takes on Jahdae Barron in the finals, and then the third place matchup in this bracket, Christian Jones and David Gbenda. So some of these players, they have their work cut out for them. They're learning a lot, but we also have somebody who's been learning a lot. We were just talking to him during the break. It's somebody who's familiar to our audience, taking part in the Stanford BlitzChamps, none other than Joshua Cardi. The Cardi Party, it continues. He is a senior. He was first team in 2022 and third team in 2021 in all Pac-12, and he was a Lou Groza Award finalist. A great kicker, having a good kicking season for the Stanford Cardinal, and of course he played in the chess event. So we welcome Joshua onto the show. Joshua, it's been a minute. How are you feeling today?
Hi guys, thanks for the intro. I'm feeling pretty good. Looking at this bracket going on right now, I really have to go with my guy, Ryan Sanborn. I think he's going to take it home today. I don't know if you guys know, but he played 4 years at Stanford before he transferred over to the Texas Longhorns. And no matter whether it's chess, ping pong, poker, anything else, he just has that competitive edge. So I just really have to go with him here.
How much does that all, is there like a special teams dynamic as well, a special teams camaraderie, because the Ryan Sanborn is a punter and an elite one at that. You're an elite kicker. How much of a crossover is there?
Yeah, no, we were very complimentary with each other. He was our punter, and he was also my holder last year. Just a great guy all around, and very, very coordinated, very methodic. And I think that really comes into play when he crosses over to other sports and other, is chess a sport or is just a game? I'm not sure. I would say it's a game, I guess, but it helps him out when he crosses over to other games. He has that competitive edge and that methodic. Well, I guess today you said he's been going pretty fast, but that methodic calculation.
Did you help him out with his chess at all? I mean, you are higher rated between the two of you. So back at Stanford, when he was there, were you guys playing some chess? Were you teaching him a few things?
A little bit, yeah. I don't know if I was as good of a teacher as I was more of a just I'm gonna try and beat him over and over again until he gets frustrated and quits kind of guy. But yeah, we played a lot, and I actually played with him a little bit last week in preparation for this event going on today.
All right, I have to ask another non-chess related question just because you said the man was your holder last year. And to me, that's kind of an intimate relationship. To me, it's like center, quarterback exchange and so on. And I've always wondered, because I watched Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, way back when, and there's, this famous line over and over again, laces out, laces out. Is that like just critical to kicks? Like, did Ryan have to hold you down and get the ball exactly the same way for you to kick it when you actually were in games?
Yes, that's a good question. So it's kind of a relationship between the snapper and the holder together. Ideally, the snapper will snap the ball enough times that they can perfect like getting the laces exactly at 12 o'clock when the holder catches the ball. And if not, then, it's supposed to be the holder's job to, as they're putting it down, spin it so the laces are out. And it usually happens. It almost always happens. But if it doesn't happen, you can still put the ball through the pipes as a kicker. It doesn't make all the difference in the world, but it definitely helps out to have the laces out when you're kicking. So Ace Ventura was correct, or whoever said that in that movie. They were correct when they were saying that they want the laces out.
Well, talk about a crossover I didn't expect. Not just football, chess, but also Ace Ventura. But Joshua, question for me is, sometimes things in chess, you're a growing chess player, honestly. You said you hit up to 1600, now settling in the 1500s as you're improving. How do kickers improve? Because your year has been quite good. The only misses you've had are from 50 plus yards. So how do you as a kicker work on like those hard things to improve, which are the longest distance field goals?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities between kicking and chess. Most glaringly, like it's very repeatable over and over and over again. Like when you kick, you're practicing the same thing every single day, every time you go out, the exact same drills. It's not like other positions in sports, pretty much all of sports, where the situation changes almost every single play or every single game, something like that. For us, it's the exact same every single time, and our process should stay hopefully the exact same, whether it's a 25-yarder or whether it's a 55-yarder. Honestly, for me, I try and keep things the same even as I go back and kick the longer field goals. Once I get to a certain threshold, maybe it's 55 one day, maybe it's a 60-yarder a different day, depending on the wind conditions, the temperature, stuff like that, how comfortable I feel getting the football a certain distance. And then I'll try and change my technique, my form, try and put a little more oomph into it to try and get the distance for a longer field goal. But other than that, it's similar to chess in that, you're a grandmaster, so I'm sure you've had to study the same openings over and over and over again. Every time you start a chess game, it's the same. There's only a certain amount of openings that are possible for the first 3, 4, 5 moves, and so you've probably had to practice those same things over and over and over again. Just like Ryan and I have had to, specialize. We are specialists. How we've had to specialize in our craft too.
Yeah, so really fascinating description of how that works, because I think for folks at home that watch football, I think so much of it they consume, but they don't truly understand. And so I appreciate that on like such a such a personal level. Back to the chess, because we were talking a little bit off camera about your development since BlitzChamps, and you were telling me that you've essentially gained hundreds of points. And I know you had some adversity where you basically lost, I think, to David Kasamervitz in BlitzChamps before. Are you now the best player on the team?
Yeah, I believe so. So I kind of, ever since that day, I've had a little bit of chip on my shoulder. And just, I've kind of been going on a tear, especially against David Kasamervitz. He beat me 2.5 to 1.5 in the finals of that tournament that day. And a lot of it was because he was just a flat out better player than I was. And it was showing up on the game clock. I was running out of time fairly often. And he was just getting into slightly better positions than me. Ever since that day, I've kind of like switched up my tactics a little bit. I just start with the King's Gambit whenever I'm white, and I start with the Queen's Gambit whenever I'm black. Whereas before, I would just do like the London and then just like E5 when I'm black, and just kind of imitate what my opponent's doing. So it was definitely a humbling experience losing in the championship against David Kasamervitz. And I guess I'll go on record and say I've probably won, 2 out of every 3 games against him since that day, including one streak of 9 games in a row, which I'm not sure he'll be too happy about me sharing with you guys. But definitely had a chip on my shoulder from that day, and wish I prepared like I did afterwards before that event, so we could have given a better show to our audience.
Wow, okay. So, I won't call them fighting words, but it sounds like you've had a one-sided matchup since BlitzChamps, and where the games are going to start any second now. But a question I have for you as the games come up is, how have you been working to improve? You said the King's Gambit, but how have you been working on that opening specifically besides playing games?
That's a good question. And the answer is I really just only play games. And this is kind of probably not the smartest technique to gaining ELO, but I am a type of guy who plays lots of blitz games, bullet games, and then when I win, I check my game review, and when I lose, I just don't even bother because I'm pretty frustrated and want to get to the next one already. So it's been a lot of trial and error, and that's pretty much it. It's been a lot of trial and error.
Wow. I mean, that's normally how it would work. Would you recommend that for kickers? Like, just keep trying, and if you missed that field goal, just go at it again?
Yeah, definitely. In our sport, there's a lot of talks about be like a goldfish, and the reason for that is just forget everything right after you do it. Whether you make a field goal, whether you miss a field goal, just move beyond it and focus on the next kick, not the last one. Obviously, learn from it and take things away from the last kick that you need to fix, but don't dwell on the past. And so, when I'm grinding out 30 chess games in a row, like I did before this event, trying to get my ELO a little bit higher, which I failed at miserably. I went down about 100 points in the last day or two, but just forget the last chess game and move on to the next one, and then hopefully things work out better.
Here we go. We're actually in the final now, and Josh, can you stick with us for a moment?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
All right, so here we're there. The moves are coming in hot right now, and Robert's been kind of our dominant guy, but your boy Ryan has got looks like he might castle pretty soon. Oh, he's castled. He has a very healthy position as the bishop here, so this is going to be a great matchup. So I'd love to see this.
Yeah, and Josh, were you working, at least when you were playing against Ryan, was he playing stuff like this with you, or is this completely new for your eyes as well?
Yeah, do you remember I forget what it was called. Do you remember the trap that Ari Patu performed against me where he took my queen? I think I forgot what it's called.
I don't
but,
remember the particular trap, man.
It's the one where you play, I think, D4 or D5 is black. You let the pawn take like a couple of times, and you move the bishop and the knight out, and then you check them, and they have to move their king and take the piece, and then you take the queen afterwards. Anyway, I think he tried to do
Rob,
that.
do you know this one?
It's on you, man. You're commentating.
Yeah, I just don't remember. I mean, so many games ago, my memory is not what it once was. I must confess to you, Josh. But okay, this position we gotta say is right now is really fascinating because Ryan is doing very well. He's got his pieces out. We talked about connecting the rooks being a good indicator. He did just give up his bishop for that knight, and now he's gonna have to deal with that rook on a8. And I'm curious how he's gonna deal with it. How would you deal with it, Josh?
I think I'd push my pawn like that, just as he did.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, very interesting position. White should castle pretty soon. Oh no, are we gonna have Robert? Are we gonna have a bishop takes h7, knight g5? Is this what Robert is going for?
Hey, I mean, I respect what any Robert does. Well, that's definitely not true. But I respect what this Robert is doing. Going for a fishing hook, knight to g5, trying to open up some lines against the black king. So, Josh, I'm looking at your buddy Ryan here. He gave a check, brought his queen back. I'm worried about his king safety.
I'm not losing, man.
Yeah, and this is where I was getting into trouble against Kaz, and he did play that move, like you said, but I remember when I was playing, I was struggling to push my pawns whenever we got into the middle game. And it looks like Robert is doing a good job of starting to push his pawns.
Bro, don't worry about it, man.
One really scary thing is that if black takes this knight and he doesn't, goes h6 instead, oh my gosh, he's just going for it. I have to say, I love the way that Robert Sweeney is playing this. I mean, he's just going for the checkmating attack. The good news for Ryan is there's not actually a threat right now. There is no game-ending threat. Just don't take this and walk into a checkmate. But White doesn't have a knockout, and Queen f4 apparently not loved by the engines. But I don't see an easy way to punish this.
Yeah. This basically black just has to kind of stand put, not take this knight on g5 and hang around, because basically as long as white's rooks aren't connected, this king on e1 stays on e1, it's going to be tough to totally finish the game. Although I'm getting a note, Robert, from a member of our team that maybe the game that Joshua was talking about was actually a Stafford Gambit type of trick. So maybe we can figure out if that's the case a bit later. But this position, I don't even know who is it easier to play. I feel like I'd want to ask Josh, who would you rather be? I mean, if you could ignore the eval bar for a second, do you think there's one side that's easier?
I do think that it is a little bit easier to be white right now, even though you don't really want to move a lot of your pieces because you have them trapped and stuck a little bit in that corner. You have a lot of freedom with your pawns, and then now with your rooks if you can get them in action, I would think. I will say, as someone who played in a tournament like this, you think a lot, or I was thinking a lot about thinking about moves because I knew I was being watched by other people. And when you're in an environment like a pressure situation in a tournament that means something, it's usually I would imagine it's usually very difficult to play at your peak as professionals do.
Well, Josh, question for you. Are you more nervous kicking a game-winning field goal or playing chess in front of many thousands of viewers?
I think if you it's probably a lot closer than it should be. Playing chess is not something that I've done very much in front of people, and there's a lot of anxiety that comes in when you're faced with something like that versus kicking. There's definitely a lot of pressure and anxiety kicking a game-winning field goal, but it's something you've done so many times that is probably closer in stress levels to playing in a championship chess match with the same amount of viewers. Depends how many people are watching, though, for sure.
I think we've had our first brilliant move of BlitzChamps Texas. Castle queenside. Getting the rook into the game, not moving the knight. Very impressive stuff. Even the escalation in the center by playing G3 and then F4 as white has done to clamp down on black's pawn breaks in the center with E5 is just really, really impressive. Now, your boy Ryan, Joshua, is also handling this very, very impressively because he's basically just been forced to kind of turtle and defend, and that's not easy to do. And he's doing a really admirable job right now. So I don't see any clear breakthrough for white. And, as long as, he's able to hold the fort, it's going to turn to scramble soon.
It's getting messy. That's clear. I mean, white isn't the only one having an attack against the enemy king. I like this move B4. So, Josh, your experience, not just as his friend, but as maybe a sparring partner for Ryan, do you feel like he is any specific type of player, or how would you describe his chess style?
Yeah, I would say he definitely doesn't hold anything back. He's not afraid to... Oh, wow. He's not afraid to... It looks like... Can you take the knight now, or is that not the case?
It's a great question, honestly. There might be a time and place because there's a check against this king. And wow, the eval bar is all the way down. And he captured pawn given the double question mark.
And it looks like black might be able to hit first, essentially, on white's king on C1, that is now all of a sudden pretty exposed. So, but Ryan, this is a first for me. I'm seeing Ryan. Well, actually, he was down on time before when he basically started pre-moving like crazy. And Robert is a different type of animal to pre-move against because he's basically showed the best chess to this point. So really curious to see how this what happens from here.
And he takes the knight, the eval bar going up, but not all the way up in white's favor. And it's your point, Josh. Great vision by you that this bishop can take back with check, and then maybe you can block the line. And oh, that is going to be a forced checkmate. Oh. Here it comes.
Bro, just make a move. Come on.
Mate in 2 now by force. Nice. And okay, Robert Sweeney is not 900. That game was really phenomenal from him, and he gives himself a nice round of applause. But Magnus Carlsen would have been proud to play this game.
Yeah, and look at the look at the flex. Look at the flex.
What move are you on?
Wow.
Okay.
I can't
yeah, back to your
we just saw, and Ryan probably can. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, yeah, Ryan is not the type of player to hold anything back. He's really like an all-out attack type of player. Won't really get too distracted by an opposing threat from another player. In my experience, he just goes all out with an attack that he's planning.
Yeah, I mean,
for him. Sorry, go ahead, Casso.
I was just gonna say, like, I think the adjustment that basically Ryan would want to make there is just to play a little bit faster because I think he basically defended so well in that middle game before taking the knight on G5, and I think just playing a little bit faster and then kind of turtling on just a little bit more, and the tables were about to turn. So that was a really impressive game from Robert from start to finish. And look, we have your opening, Josh. King's Gambit, basically.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Okay. So I might need to revisit some of this King's Gambit stuff. Who knew that this is the opening to get people out of their comfort zone? And well, what's the next step for Ryan? Is he going to develop? Okay, he's going to develop that bishop on C4. Not minding this pawn on E4 that is hanging.
Oh, apparently this is a very bad move from white. Yeah, the king is unsafe. That's going to be a problem for him. I see many good-looking moves here for black. Queen h4 check first comes to mind, because if you block, I can just take that pawn as your rook is loose in the corner. I know for some in our audience that's going to be a hard variation to spot, but I think, Josh, your boy's in some trouble. Oh.
And now it's a mess, because f7 is hanging still. Of course, you don't want to move that knight. Plays d4 to reinforce the knight. Is queen h4 still a problem? It might be.
Oh.
All right, this is Ryan's first real chance of the game here. He has some really nice opportunities here to attack. And castles, what a move. Your boy with the exclam, what a move. Not greedily take on f7 just yet, adding another attacker, more wood, putting more wood on the fire, and now you got 3 attackers on f7. That is a classy move.
He learned from his buddy Josh. You said you didn't coach him. You said you just beat him over and over again in the games you played. This feels like a little bit of your influence.
Yeah, I would love to take credit for this, but I'm not sure I would have seen the castle right there. Oh, he has his queen, doesn't he?
Yeah, you see it. What you see it, Joshua, exactly right. Bishop takes f7 check, forces black to give up the queen, because the king on e8 would have nowhere to go. The queen on d4 is controlling the last square. So he takes with the knight, just as good. Practically speaking, a little tricky. And now rook e1, excellent move.
That, I think, deserves the exclamation point, because if you took this rook on h8, the bishop would have gone to c5, pinning and winning the queen. But now the rook gives a check. Oh my goodness, he gives another check because the bishop is pinned. So queen takes, and you can't take back. He's just spotting all sorts of tactics here. If you're king d7, knight b5 check would win the queen. He wins it anyway.
All right, yeah, I was going to say my only concern was if the king darted to f8, maybe there was some bishop c5 tactic still winning the queen if that knight that was on d6 would move, but we're far past that now. And now queen up, I trust your boy Ryan is going to take this one.
I think so. He's got the time to
Checkmate
his advantage. Yeah.
What a role reversal. The first game was all Robert, and then the second game was all Ryan. So these two are just swinging at one another. But we've had 2 separate complete games by each player, and I think 1-1 is justified.
Yeah, no question about it. Now the question for me is, who has the edge? I feel like Ryan has to feel better about his win than Robert has to feel about his. But when both players were in their element, there was good things happening. So I want to ask you, Joshua, but I feel like your answer is gonna be a little biased, just a touch. But who would you give the edge to?
Definitely Ryan. He just has ice in his veins. I see Robert's an offensive lineman, probably a great competitor as well, but I would have to put my whole bank account on Ryan winning this one still.
The whole bank account. Oh my goodness.
Whole bank account.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, well, that is good support of your friend and former teammate, Josh. Seriously, thank you so much for stopping by, for joining us, and you got a great chess mind there. We see you're improving. I want to see even more from you. So, any final thoughts on this championship match before, and just chess or whatever you want to share before we let you go?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you letting me have this opportunity. Just real quick before I go, would love to set up Stanford versus Texas, Stanford versus Michigan, because I know they played too, type of BlitzChamps, team versus team event. I think that would be really fun, and I know my guys would be up for it. Would love to hear what you guys would think about that. But thanks for having me on here today, and hopefully Ryan can pull this one out for me.
All right, well, I was going to let you go, but I do want to hear a little bit of that trash talk now. Like, if you had to pick one school to face, what school would it be?
It would probably be Texas, just because we do know we have a familiar face on their team. It's not very often you get to beat Ryan in something, so if we got to beat him in a chess tournament, that would be really fun.
We got to make this happen. I think the BlitzChamps show must go on, and yeah, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys.
Josh,
you guys are the
seriously,
best.
thank you so much for being on with us. And I can't wait to see more of your progress, and I can't wait to see you trash talk Ryan when we make it happen. But for now, we say goodbye to Josh. We really appreciate him and all the Stanford team for playing in a previous BlitzChamps, but the focus, the energy, it's all in Austin, Texas. And Casa, we've been focusing on the championship match. We know it's 1-1 between Ryan and Robert. Why don't we head to the consolation bracket, because these players, some of them improving, I'm guessing they're also talking a lot of trash to one another.
Yeah, no question about it. And again, it's not just the winners that have a journey through the tournament, right? It's folks that are literally getting better in real time while thousands of people are watching. I mean, it's pretty amazing stuff. So it's really cool to see that. And yeah, I mean, we have Leona Lefau, who really really got better throughout the event, and now is in the consolation final, putting in a very interesting effort. Basically a point up already. I see him in the bottom right side of the screen, jumping on Jahdae Barron right now on that F2 square. How many times have we said that? And yeah, looking pretty good. So you see a lot of interesting games going on.
Yeah, I'm into that game, though, on the bottom right, because Lefau won the first game between these two. Also, I see that rating. It started at 700 and went down to the 500, back now into 600s. Clearly somebody who hasn't been playing so actively, but as you mentioned, is improving throughout the day. And I really just want to hear some players talk to each other. I want to hear the type of jokes that they have, the barbs. So, yeah, I would love to see what's going on between Leona Lefau and Jahdae Barron. And Casa, I mean, we're going to have all attention later on Ryan and Robert, but if I put you on the spot, pick a champ of this event, would you put your entire bank account on Ryan Sanborn?
I would not. I'm not a gambling man. I sort of have to put a little bit here and a little bit there to kind of short my initial bet. But yeah, it's so crazy that Joshua is willing to put, essentially. I thought of the song Bank Account in my head, because it was like, he's like, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 M's in my bank account. He was willing to put all of his money on Ryan, and so, yeah, we'll see how that turns out.
What is behind Jahdae right now? What is going on there? Is it Instagram?
He's basically like, follow your boy. You can get some chess in later. I respect it. I respect the hustle.
Hey, in the NIL era, you got to do what you got to do, right? So why not market yourself? And I think that right now, Leona Lefau's letting his moves do the talking. He's got a passed A-pawn. He's got activity all across the board. But have to give respect to the IG page.
Yeah, no question about it. And right now, it would appear that Jahdae has some clock management issues and some position issues. This rook on A2 is in jail. It cannot go anywhere without being captured, and right now it seems like he's trying to turtle his way out of trouble on the king side, but this A-pawn is 2 squares away from queening, or can I say rooking? Because A1 rook is also checkmate.
Well, this one could be over very soon. That rook was grabbed on A2, and I like it, Casa. Just move the knight out the way, push the pawn, and it should be a checkmate in a couple moves. The king doesn't have anywhere to go. Step 1 is complete, and I think the next 2 moves are very clear.
Yeah. Now, I think the default setting, actually, Robert, if I'm not mistaken, is for you to auto-promote to queen. So I don't think we're going to have any funny business with a a rook promotion, but this is be a very peculiar finish with h6 and then a2 if he doesn't move his rook. He moves the rook first, which is extremely fiscally responsible, but you could have shoved the a pawn.
It's happening anyway. Here it goes. Next move is a1 equals queen. I think it's going to be checkmate because unless white pushed the pawn to get the king some space, this is check and mate, and I don't know why he stopped on a2. There it goes. That is game 2 in Lefau's favor, and unfortunately for Jahdae, I don't think that he got too many subscribers to the IG channel just yet. Not sure if it was worth it. But Casa, let's go to... I was going to go to the matchup between Christian and David, but they finished their second game, so there isn't a game to go to there.
All right, so we can, I guess, be peeled into Gabriel and Hayden's game. I see Gabriel's up 2-0, which is a surprise to me. Hayden had played very, very well in his match against Ryan Sanborn earlier in the upper left corner of the screen there. They got a 4 knights. I have not seen a 4 knights yet in this particular edition of BlitzChamps. So it seems like folks are developing, might actually be castling soon as well. Adjustments are being made from the beginning of the tournament to the end of the tournament. So love to see it. If black castles in the next move, I'm going to be very impressed. Getting all the pieces out, nice to see.
I'm looking at Gabriel's background, and it's just hilarious. You just see Hayden blown up right behind him, and it's just hysterical. So I have to give these players their props for having fun with it. And now Gabriel was handed a piece, and unfortunately for Hayden, he didn't follow it up correctly. He needed to play for a center fork with the pawn going up to d4 to hit multiple pieces. Instead, he develops, but he's just down a knight for a pawn. So, Casa, not good for Hayden since the opening match.
If Gabriel actually gets out the way at some point and moves his head, it seems like the picture he has of Hayden is one where Hayden is just kind of like slightly disgusted with things, and I don't know. It's you could kind of see it's like oof. It's like he's taking a hit or a blow or something. It feels like the position might be going similarly, but there's a lot of game left, and Hayden has shown really good chess this event. So. And here we go, another forking opportunity with potentially pawn to d4 to block out that knight on g4 and the bishop on c5, both hitting at the f2 pawn. So we'll see if d4 is indeed played, and I would not put it past Hayden to make that move. And he does.
Good call. Maybe you should have put some of Josh Cardi's money on it. But d4 was played with the fork of the minor pieces. Should get him some material back. Unless he plays like c6. That's a really difficult move to play in such a position, ignoring the immediate threats against your minors by attacking your opponent. It's knight in the center, but a move like that should be very strong for black. But Casa, as these two, they're going at it. We haven't looked at the matchup between Christian Jones and David Gbenda, and I've received word that those two are very good friends and even roommates. So this won't be teammates just ribbing each other. This will be going into the wee hours of the night.
And here we go. Yeah, if they're roommates, then the one person will not hear the end of it for the rest of the semester. No doubt about that. But this king on e7 that David has is pretty airy. So I think Christian's going to look to maybe play bishop a3 check and challenge the king that way, or maybe plow forward with the f pawn and play f5 and open the queen up against the f7 square. Queen hang alert. Queen hang alert.
Knight takes free queen on
Christian. Christian is looking around. I think he realizes he's looking around like, can I take that? Is the coast clear? And it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Before he was, he's licking the fingers, like he was eating some of that good old Austin, Texas barbecue, and now he's just grabbing a free queen and can get a rook as well. Casa, it's getting out of hand.
Yeah, and that was an exclam move, by the way. So we have seen a number of exclams in the last 20 minutes or so. And it's good to see. Guys are improving, and that's the really cool thing to see through the course of the event.
Swing, back up.
Christian, look at him. He's got that big smile on his face because he knows he has a wealth of material against David, and Hey, if these two are roommates, I don't think David's going to be living this down.
No
anytime
help,
soon.
bro. I play the computer on chess.com. Something that you didn't do. Huh? Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Something I didn't do. Ooh, okay. Oh, whoa. Bro, back up, like.
Okay, I'm quieter now. I feel like Christian's locking in.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of becoming everything must go sail.
Like, you really gonna run from it? Oh, nope. There it goes. It's over with.
Come on, man.
Poor David.
No, I
You really should.
Shut up, bro.
Giving it to me, man.
Look at all those pieces I got.
Shut up. Shut up. Don't do it, watch. He gonna do it. He's gonna do it, watch. He's gonna do it.
Oh, come on.
I'm on the stream with it, bro. Yo! No.
That's probably painful.
Really, bro?
She said it's painful for somebody to do
It has to be painful. What you think about, man?
You lost? Come on.
Well, no, my guy.
When'd you resign? Dude, I lost. You have 30 seconds? Don't give up. He resigned twice. I lost. He resigned twice. I lost.
He quit.
I'm him or anybody.
He's not waiting. He's not shaking my hand.
I'm not shaking his hand.
You have to shake his hand.
He's leaving right now.
I want to shake your I want to shake your hand. Let me shake your hand. I want to shake your hand.
Hey, what are you doing, man?
I want to be in here. I just lost.
Gbenda, come on.
I love that because it wasn't just them talking. You could hear another game going, and they're like, he won't shake my hand. You got to shake hands. It's chess. That's very funny to hear their teammates also having a good time. And we did see Gabriel win 3-0 over Hayden. We're just witnessing Christian take down David, and then in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, it looks like it's going to be a 3-0 finish as well. But I'm seeing the championship game is getting underway there. So, Casa, let's dive right back in. It's Robert, it's Ryan, and it's 1-1.
And let's go. We basically had the beginning of an Italian with this knight g5 idea, this fried liver idea to take on f7, but Ryan was one move away from castling, and if a knight and bishop combine against that f7 pawn and you're one move away from castling and you can actually castle, you're fine. And so Robert realized that basically he couldn't actually take an f7 without shedding material and lost time with that knight maneuver. So Ryan's gotten out to an excellent start.
We had Josh on with us before talking about how Ryan was training for this event. They played some games against one another, and he's been performing well. I mean, look at this position where Black has made all natural developing moves, and it looks like White has done the same, but as you point out, Casa, this knight went from G1 to F3 to G5, back to F3, spending precious time in the position as Black is now castled safely and has a lead in development despite the fact that White moved first.
Yeah, now the only kind of thing here that White has that's really tricky is this pin on the f6 knight. So because that pin still exists, it's still a little bit tricky for Black to handle. And I think practically speaking, the worst is over, at least in the short term for Robert. He's managed to get a position where he could still kind of play, and the tempo loss is not the end of the world. So nice adjustment there. Recognizing your mistake and then adjusting course is something that even really, really experienced chess players sometimes stubbornly do not do.
I'm with you. And this is one of those positions where at some point the engine might scream for G5, and I would be screaming at my student, who's a newer player, if they play G5. I'm like, it just feels way too risky in front of your own king. It's justified. It's objectively a strong move. I get that, but you're asking for trouble by pushing pawns in front of your own king. So I like the way that both players are handling the position. If I were Ryan, I like that move, bishop d4, a lot. He took control of his d5 square casa, so he knew preemptively that that was what Robert was going to aim for.
Yeah, now the question for me, I always wonder, is he going to snap that knight on c3 or not? Because I think a lot of people basically start the game and grow up in the game thinking that knights are better than bishops, and we see that quite a bit. Here we go, g4. Scrap everything I was about to say about knights and bishops. Robert likes to attack. We've seen this already before where he kept his king on e1 for a long time. In the first game he beat Ryan took a similar direction where he basically went for this direct attack. And now he's doing the same thing, and it's really dangerous to deal with. So the problem here is that Black's played h6, which is essentially a hook or a lever that White could use to open up the g file with g5 next. So how Ryan deals with this is going to be really interesting because it's not an easy decision. He starts taking on c3.
Yeah, I think you asked about that question, and it still was an important one, but it seems like the action is going to unfold on this g5 square. And g5 is a good move for Black. I was just saying how I would yell at a student not to play that. First of all, I don't yell at any of my students, but I like this move way more. This is a fantastic find from Ryan. He's trading off one of the big attackers against his king, namely the f7 pawn, and if g5 were to happen in the near future, he can actually just move his knight back to h7 because that bishop would have been under attack on h4. Things like this were going to be available, and so White plays d4 Bacasa. That king on e1 is going to pay the price.
Yeah, the reason the computer is giving a question mark here is because typically when your king's in the center, you do not want to open the position. And so White was trying to open the position on the flank, and that was reasonable as long as the center is closed. So Ryan would do really well to rip on d4 here and initiate action in the center, and he's done it. Maybe Josh should, put some money in at the, put some money in somewhere, when he's done with his studies, because this is really impressive stuff.
Yeah, and we're hoping that he sees that money on Sundays. He makes it to the NFL. He is such a good kicker. That is Joshua Cardi for Stanford. And Queen e7 by Ryan in this game. This is Ryan Sanborn, friend of Josh Cardi, former teammate, and he held for him because Ryan is a punter, Josh a kicker, and now it is time. Did he pre-move that almost?
Again, we said Ryan is fast, and when he wants to be, and I think he might have did just that. I'd expect him to get his other rook on e8 into the game and triple up on the e file. He's made a lot of sensible moves, and that one is another sensible one. d5, another good move, just reinforcing that rook on e4 and introducing this threat of queen takes a3 check. The man is in a zone. He's got ice in his veins. And his boy told us before we should have just listened.
Listening, it's a good skill to have. And ooh, f4. So Robert is tunneled on the king's side. Queen takes a3 is really going to hurt. This king is going to have to go to the b file, but it's not safe over there. So queen takes a3, spotted by Ryan Sanborn. And Casa, if you go king d2, it's mate in 1. That is something you should avoid.
Yeah, if King b1 played very quickly, good spot by Robert, and both Roberts will say. Good spot by you as well, Robert. Now the question is, how do you bring another piece to add fuel to the fire? Ryan says, you know what, I've won enough material, I'm just going to chill back there. This might give White some time to try and open things with g5, but he has to take care of this f4 pawn first. So That's why, again, ignore the computer here. It's gonna give a question mark, but it's really quite a reasonable move. Black has more than enough material, and he's just trying to sort of shore up his king side.
And white brought a rook to e1, and then that pawn f4. That was captured. So queen d6, I don't think it deserved a question mark. It was a very stabilizing move. And this would be a great idea if trying to essentially pin this rook. You could take the white queen, the black queen's captured, but Casa, it's where we look for intermezzos, intermediate moves. And I know if I take your... I don't even have to say it. That was just a great find from Ryan.
Wow. And it's impressive. It's just really impressive. We're seeing a string of exclam moves, and these aren't trivial moves at all. So now he's won the queen. I bet you he's going to play queen c3 check next and pick off the bishop. It's been that, or queen a3 check for that matter. It's been that type of game where Ryan is just in like a flow state.
Yeah, he's really feeling it right now. And he's getting some technical support, it looks like. He doesn't need any help on the chessboard. He got checkmate in 1. He doesn't play it. He takes a pawn in the center. But Ryan did have mate in 1 available if he brought his queen to a3 a turn to go.
Yeah, and now, again, it's kind of like a cleanup on aisle 7 situation. You can, bring in the rook to the third rank, maybe rook f3. You could administer as many checks as you want with this extra queen, essentially. And one of the nice things for folks at home is just giving yourself a back rank square. So Black has already played this move h6 earlier in the game, so there's just no chance of any checkmating ideas either. And it just gives you a free hand to kind of continue to attack the white king.
Super instructive point there by you, Casa, that there's no back rank checkmate to worry about. That happens in BlitzChamps or tournaments of this style. But now there's a checkmate in 2. That's step 1, only 1 move. And if he plays queen a3 check instead of taking this bishop, just gotta give this guy his flowers.
Wow.
What a game!
So impressive. And I mean, I'm kind of speechless because basically the whole game he maintained this excellent control. He didn't panic when he saw, again, this aggression from Robert with g4, g5, and Robert there on screen is like, hold on, like, Matt, I thought I was channeling Magnus. What happened? So really impressive, but not over, and we're gonna see what adjustment is gonna be made next.
Well, what a game from Ryan Sanborn. His teammates are also playing. We see that 2 of the matches are already in the books. We have the matchup between Christian Jones. Wait a second. How are these? Wasn't Christian up 1.5, and now it's 2-1? So did Christian stalemate him?
Uh-oh. Did we miss the first stalemate of BlitzChamps Texas?
We do know Leona Lefau beat Jahdae Barron, and Gabriel Lozano beat Hayden Connor. But I'm going to go into the match between Christian and David, because those two, they were talking to one another earlier, and I'm very confused how that game was drawn. Oh my gosh. Casa, should we bring it up? I'll bring up the third game before we get to their current one. Okay, well, we'll get it on screen in a second for everybody. Yeah, you see it before the fans.
Yeah, I'm looking at this off screen, folks. Sorry about that. Oh my goodness.
That's stalemate. This king has nowhere to go, and the knight protects this pawn, so the king can't take it. You know what the last move was? Queen takes a pawn.
It's wild because I don't think there was checkmate in 1 in that position before queen takes pawn happened, and there are just so many pieces on the board. You'd expect there to actually be a checkmate in 1. So first and foremost, there was no checkmate immediately, so that's slightly understandable. And again, we saw time and time again the style points dynamic, right? Winning and taking all the pieces and sort of dominating on material.
Our eyes are in the top right as the 4th game. I'm not going to call it the final game, because if Ryan Sanborn does not win, then if Robert wins this 4th game, then we get into tie breaks. But if Ryan holds a draw, then he is our BlitzChamps Texas champion.
So we're back in Italian land, and h6, this is a new wrinkle, basically stopping knight g5 manually in that way, and also stopping bishop g5 pins. So not a poor decision at all. And now, wow, bishop a6 as well. That one allows d4, and Ryan is willing to say, hey, you allow me the center, I'm going to take the center.
Why not? h6 and a6, you're not competing in the middle of the board, and white has a very healthy pawn structure in the center. I love bishop a7. That's the right square. It's more flexible than putting it on b6 because now this pawn can spring forward to b5 at some moment. But Casa, he needs to develop his pieces. His king side cannot sit at home.
Yeah, and the real challenge for black is if you develop that knight to f6, e5 would have happened. So d6 was played first, so if the knight does come to f6, you can actually exchange on e5 once and maybe even trade queens. I like the what Robert is actually doing to finish his development. The worst is probably over, but I don't want to speak too soon.
But you're right, because now the d4 pawn is hanging. I was going to mention that this knight could have been captured, but now the queen lost its touch with d4 without a swap on f3. Bishop takes d4, knight takes d4, he captured this way, but bishop takes d4 was also a way to win a free pawn. And please, Ryan, don't take with your knight on d4. That will drop your queen on e2.
Oh, no, Ryan will definitely not recapture the knight with his own knight. He recognizes that the pin is there, and we have a game now because, again, Robert needs to win this one. And so Ryan's probably going to take the knight on d4 and then take the temperature in the room, because if you move the queen away from the e2 square, there's just too much pressure on f3. Okay, he does move the queen back to d1, still holding on to the f3 knight, but now black has the opportunity to open things up on the king side.
And he takes on f3 with check. After pawn takes f3, this bishop can just slide into h3. And if this queen, I know that's not a legal diagonal, but you get the point. If this queen can get to the g-file, it will be game over with the queen landing on g2. So Casa, white is still fighting, that's clear, but you have to be very, very careful not to just lose in a couple turns.
And don't be surprised if this knight on f6 moves to somewhere like h5, and then you have some bishop takes e3 and queen g5 check dynamic. So that's what Robert is going for. He's mixing up the move order, which does give white some possibility of covering on the g-file. No. Now knight takes d5. Maybe he's trying to go for queen takes d5 and have some quick, savvy checkmating threat on f7. We've seen that a million times this event. But now black is definitely in the driver's seat, being a piece up with a safer king. Robert's just got to keep his cool here.
Just bring that bishop. You stole a piece. Bring it all the way back to safety. Don't necessarily make trades in the center. Because if knight takes d5, as you mentioned, the queen can take, or the pawn takes, and then actually the pawn takes walks into checkmate. So he's going for the brute force method, and he is going for an attack. And he is up 2 pawns, but Casa, could you see this one turning around? A rook g1 could suddenly start making the black king feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, and Ryan is fast too. So, you know, he's up on time. He's already creating some ideas with rook g1. Not easy. I mean, if I was black here, I would be quite keen on trying to get this queen on d8 to h4. I'd probably trade the knights and then play queen h4, check. But even there, this king has a nice little TP of pawns on e4 and f3 that you know, give it some protection, and these white rooks can double on the g-file quickly. So I like knight h5 too. It's covering the g7 square, still looking at queen h4 check. Still has things under control.
And it also takes away rook g3. So when this queen comes to h4 with check, the king will have to wander further into the center. And so I love this move, knight h5, multi-purpose move, defending and attacking. I don't mind queen d2 from the standpoint that you need to go for an attack, but whose attack is coming first? It's clearly black's.
But does Robert recognize that queen takes h6 is a threat still? This king will probably move to e2, probably. And I think then it'd be really a question whether queen takes h6 is recognized, or if maybe he just wants to ignore it and play c6 anyway, which would take real bravery to just ignore that pawn is under attack and try to kick the knight. All right, g5. That is bold. That is bold. It is risky. It is also effective.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one way to eliminate queen takes h6. It's effective because there's no way that white can increase the firepower. Knight takes c7, good idea. Unfortunately, in this position, rook c8 should pick up a piece. But he plants his knight to f4. So Casa, the white king, safely evades that check, brought back to d1. And I don't know, I'm starting to feel a bit worried for the black king, even if he goes up some material.
I'm not mad at knight f4 as long as Robert finds rook c8. I think he'll probably walk away with the W. My only real concern is actually the clock right now, because I've not seen Robert in time trouble. I don't know how he reacts under that pressure, and Ryan, we know, is a pre-moving wizard, and so yeah, now Ryan understands the situation on the ground here, and yeah, the c4 is hanging up. Here we go. That king is mighty exposed. Will Robert find this one? I know our guy does.
He needs to find rook to d8, especially considering the clock, as you mentioned. Because even if he's up a queen for, say, a rook, and he brings his queen into f2, that's actually a really good move. Maybe objectively, that was even the best move. He got an exclamation point.
And he realizes now that he could have played rook d8, but lean back, get a little bit closer to the screen. Nothing has changed. You still have this threat, and you're attacking the rook. So breathe, and all is well. And he scooted back forward, put the Nets cap back on. The season is not yet lost, and he's going to find it now.
Yeah, if he saw it before, he should see it now. And he plays rook to d8. This has been another very strong game for Robert. So they're trading off in terms of one player clearly playing the superior chess, but that's what makes this such a good matchup. And rook d8, it's a great find. The rook was under attack on g1, so it was hard for white to escape this, because it's not just the material that's dropping, it's white's clock dropping below a minute.
And are we going to get a tie break in the final? Like, come on, like that is a finish if we've ever seen one. And this is what we like to call spite checks. Do not recapture that bishop with the rook. That's the only thing to me that would create some drama. If you recapture the bishop with your king, or if you just move your own king to h8, that's also very classy retreat. You're totally fine. You're totally fine.
What a smart try, though. I have to give Ryan some credit. Bishop takes f7, hoping that the rook captured, because that rook would have been hanging. Queen takes h6. I would love to deliver it, but the queen is pinned, and now it's a free queen, and that should be that. Casa, can you say overtime?
I can. Now it's let's see how this game ends. And we got queen takes e1. Okay, very well. Check. Okay, we're gonna have an everything must go sale. Everything must go. So these pieces are coming off the board quickly, and a few more checks, and we'll probably get a checkmate.
Or he'll just say, I see checkmate, and look for better. And this king on c5, it has just these two squares. It's running back and forth, but it has to be a mate in a couple turns. Where is it? He's going to take the knight, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He definitely is. Or not. He's going to mate on b4.
Oh, he had us in the first half, not going to lie.
Yeah, all right.
Don't
show me something here. There we go. Yeah, you're always a little bit worried when you get down to the last pawns that there might be a stalemate. But no, we have a tiebreak on our hands. Robert took that in the most clutch fashion. Really, just from the jump, got a very, very nice position and managed to hold on, even while Ryan was tricky and playing for the play on the G file. We have a tiebreak. This is very exciting.
It is exciting indeed, as Magnus Carlsen looks on. He, again, would be proud of the way that Robert Sweeney is playing. He's fighting back. He was down 2-1, but he took that very important final game to send us into tiebreaks and overtime. So, hey, the fans, let's be honest, they didn't pay anything to watch this show, but now they get even more free chess as we see some of the other players, some of the other teammates.
What's going on? Yeah, we had Some of the other guys now the matches are over, they can all kind of huddle around and see this, who's going to be the best of the Texas football team. And here we have Robert and Ryan going at it. Who you got?
Well, I got the tiebreak format for everybody as I buy some time before picking a player. It's 3 minutes with 0 seconds added per move. No increment for these players. The player getting white will be determined by the accuracy of the previous 4 games. And if they're still tied, if they keep going at it, then the players will swap colors until somebody wins a game. So, Casa, before we get into who's going to win the match, who do you think, use your predictive cap, who do you think was more accurate between these two?
Who was more accurate in terms of average move? I think I'd have to give it to Ryan, just because if it's based on the final, it would be Ryan, because I think Ryan, basically checkmated very quickly in the first game he beat Robert in. If it's for the entirety of the event, I think it's actually Robert.
Yeah, and you are correct that in the final it has been Ryan. So Ryan will take the white pieces in this rubber match. This is for all the marbles. And look at the background, Casa. There are teammates joining them. They're intensely watching this matchup. And again, we see a pawn on h6 stopping any shenanigans on g5. And that's the bar went all the way up.
e5 is hanging. e5 is hanging. And you can even do some fancy business on f7 if you are feeling frisky.
But he was not feeling frisky. I think he was just feeling flustered by the time control. Only 3 minutes for the whole game. And the e5 pawn, once again, Casa, can be grabbed. And second time is the charm for Ryan Sanborn.
Yeah, being asked to play with 2 minutes less on your clock than usual after having played all these 5-minute games is wild. So it's really going to be a time thing. And again, Ryan is really fast. So Black's going to, Robert's going to need to castle and try to, just get his pieces out. And that's going to probably give him his best chance. But so far, Ryan's in control.
And this knight on e5 is under attack. You should bring it back. And that threatens a fork. And this is a pin. It's an opportunity for Robert. Does he see it? Huge moment. No, he doesn't. Right square, wrong piece, Casa. He goes for the direct attack on the queen, but he could have won it with a pin on the diagonal.
Yeah, and honestly, given the time control, it still wouldn't have been over because you have to convert with not a lot of time. Ryan has a new lease on life, and he needs to make a decision quickly because it's just under 2 minutes now. I'd probably just bring that queen back to d3 and call it a day, and that's what Ryan does.
Good move. Bishop takes e5, pawn takes, queen takes. That is Robert's idea. The issue is he is underdeveloped. That after queen takes e5, throw in a bishop f4, then a knight b5. I made a move by mistake, but Ryan spots it quickly. Casa, the queens may come off after queen d4 check, but that knight is about to land on a square like c7.
I would trade the queens just because it would be harder to convert quickly. Now White has that chance to really jump on Black. So Black's got to castle pronto. Got to castle. And then try to just patch things up after that. G5.
That is not going to be good news for the Black king, because when you castle, the king is going to be feeling the air in front of it. The pawn would like to step back. That is not allowed. And once more, knight b5, knight c7, direct access to the queen side with a royal fork of king, queen, and rook.
Yeah, there's just a lot of concentration of White's pieces here in the center, and Black's are all on the back rank. And Joshua Cardi told us going into this that Ryan had clutch, super clutch, and it seems like he's the one that's really pressing the issue now. Look at all of Black's pieces. Besides the queen, everyone is back at the starting blocks, and so now White has the opportunity to just jump all over Black's king.
Go for rook to e1 check. If the king goes to d8, very important. The bishop slices across the position. There's no king escape on c7. He goes rook e1. Great start for him. And if the king goes to f8, Casa, I'm already thinking about the move d6, the rook f7. Just go for the Black king. There are no defenders around it.
b3. All right, a little bit of what we like to call in chess prophylaxis, kind of a defensive, kind of preparatory move. Not needed, but it's so hard for black to move also that maybe Ryan is inviting queen g6. I was gonna say is inviting queen g6, and that's the game right there, because that is a pin, and now it's checkmate in 1. And Ryan Sanborn has taken this match.
He has. We saw the handshake between the players. Some relief on his face. But Ryan Sanborn, the player you see on the screen in front of you, the punter for the Texas Longhorns, the former Stanford Cardinal, he is your winner of BlitzChamps Texas, and he earned it. Casa, that final game there, it was a blowout. It was a one-sided blitz, and he takes it home to beat his teammate, Robert Sweeney.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because he basically got all his pieces in the game. Everything was playing. And even that move B3, which we were like, I don't know if you need that. I think he was setting up the mistake, which, is one of those things that is a really advanced idea where you play a move that feels like a pass just to give your opponent the opportunity to go wrong, and that's what happened.
Great game, as you said. Every move with purpose. He understood the task ahead of him, and every move was a strong one. He took that pawn e5 the second time around, and you see his teammates, they're cheering him on. They're supporting their friend, and I think while Robert Sweeney entered the tournament as the highest rated, Ryan Sanborn, he earned that title, Casa, as we see the champions bracket.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Robert as well. Robert was really, really impressive throughout the event. Really didn't even lose a game until the finals. And then he just ran up into a buzzsaw right at the end. Sometimes it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Ryan finished really, really well. The third place match, we didn't really spend too much time with that. Although Gabriel Lozano did take it 3-0. Nice story arc there, right, as well. So really, really impressive stuff.
Yeah, great day of chess for so many of these competitors. And while the chess has finished, the day is not done. We are going to take a very short break. But when we return, we'll be joined by Ryan Sanborn and likely the rest of the Texas Longhorns football chess playing team. So don't go anywhere. We will be joined by the winner in just a few. This is BlitzChamps Texas.
Love playing chess variants? Or just looking for something new? Join us for the Variants Community Series. Every 2 months, we'll be featuring a different variant in a series of events and competitions. Learn a new variant and compete against other players for prize money, or just play for fun. Look for community arenas, streamer arenas, and championship events. 6 weekly arena tournaments held every Thursday will be followed by a championship event with cash prizes, including a $1,000 first place prize. The third and final weekly arenas will be streamer arenas, featuring gifted subs as prizes. Win any of these events to qualify for the championship. The Variants Community Series kicks off on September 7th with King of the Hill, where the first to occupy the center wins the game. But getting checkmated still loses. And join the Variants Club today to learn more about upcoming events, how to participate, and much, much more. See you in the arena on chess.com.
This course is about white playing d4, all the tools you need to get an advantage with white and not be tricked early in the opening. Now, it has a really long, complicated name that I'm going to mispronounce now, so you can make fun of me. Okay, don't make fun of me too much. I'm trying to help you here. It's called the Chelyabinsk variation, and I'm probably mispronouncing Chelyabinsk. That's why I call it the A6 Slav.
Eight teammates enter the competition, but only one could end on top, and that is punter Ryan Sanborn. When all was said and done, he takes down Robert Sweeney in the championship bracket. Casa, it felt like a fair result given the level of play, and to everybody watching, we are joined by none other than Ryan Sanborn. So Ryan, congratulations. How are you feeling right now?
Thank you, guys. I feel really good. I think this was a really fun event. I'm super thankful that chess.com was able to put it on for us, and just kind of getting all the guys on the team to kind of get into chess for the last couple months has been really fun. I mean, whether it's just like talking in the locker room or in the dining halls, we're always kind of just playing like daily games or blitz games. So I think it's been really good for our team and just really cool to see it all accumulate today.
It was really cool to see you basically play a lot of the same openings and stuff throughout. It seemed like you had, a plan going in that you were going to play e4 with white and you were going to play this Italian style where you bring your bishop out to c4. And it felt like there was a lot of practice that went into today. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. So we got some coaching in the last couple months, and that was something I definitely played a lot of. It was like Italian games, King Gambit's games were in there as well. And I just really wanted to try and play like super aggressive. That's kind of how I just like to play chess. Just love kind of going in there, trying to like sacrifice pieces, get brilliant moves. And so sometimes you got to kind of tone it down. But I mean, it's been really fun kind of learning some new openings and kind of getting to incorporate them here.
And Ryan, you've had a journey as a football player. You're going from Stanford to Texas now, and we were joined by your former teammate, your friend Josh. He said that when I asked him, did he coach you? He said, no, when we were teammates, I just tried to let him learn by beating him over and over again. So what do you think about Josh's potential career as a chess coach?
I mean, for me, I think it works really well. I'm a super competitive person, so whenever somebody will like beat me in a game, it kind of just becomes like a mission to get as good as I can, whether it's like ping pong, like we're just hanging out in the locker room playing pool, stuff like that, like golf, any sort of sport. I just love kind of the competitive aspect, and Josh has been beating me pretty much every single game we've played. It honestly started, we were out playing in Santa Barbara. They had like a big chess set in the ground, and one of our hotels, and since then, I mean, I think I maybe have beat him once. I honestly can't even say if I have, but I mean, it's been awesome having him. He was texting me between games too, just like giving me some advice on kind of how to play, what to do in some openings too. So it was really awesome to kind of have him in my corner.
Wow, that is unbelievable feedback in real time in between rounds. What was it like playing in the final against a very, very worthy opponent? Robert, we were basically totally raving about his play throughout the event. I mean, he was also someone that was in crazy good form throughout, and he gave you a really tough fight. You guys are also in close proximity to each other while you're playing. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty interesting. I would honestly say, like, I was more nervous in that last game than I have been, like, all year. And even the games before, too, I think there was one point where he thought he blundered a piece, and he kind of was like, oh, no. And I kind of looked around. I'm like, I don't know if he's, like, trying to trap me here. And I'm, like, looking for something. And he's like, wait, I didn't actually blunder it. So I know that wasn't exactly, like, what I expected here, but it was just a really good time. I mean, Robert's a really great player. I'm sure if we ran it back, it would be a very even series. He'd probably come out more on top than I do. But no, it was just really cool. I mean, we played a lot of really interesting games where there was just a lot of positions I hadn't really been in, whether it was like open king side and just trying to like move all my pieces around. Even the first game, he just had my king in a corner, just like trapped the entire time, and it felt like every move I made, I would just be losing somehow. But yeah, it was really fun. I had a really good time. There was some good competition all around here.
Yeah, for sure. The competition was great, and you played great. And speaking of competition, while we had Josh on before, he kind of laid out a challenge. He said that he wants to see Stanford take on Texas. So I know you got your teammates, your guys around you. What do you say? Like, do you want to take down the Stanford Cardinal in the chess match?
Yeah, we'll go for it.
Yeah, get the guys together.
We'll have a little. We'll have a
Yeah, we could. You
the guys. But I think we'd love to have a challenge with them.
All right, you heard it here first. They feel pretty good about their chances, and they wanna play against the Stanford team. We'll have to we'll have to make that happen.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be a good time.
Horns by a million.
Horns by a million. I heard that. That's that would be a really fun match for you guys. And well, we had a lot of people watching, Ryan, and I think it's a very relevant question. Do you feel more pressure punting in front of a crowd or playing chess in front of a crowd?
I mean, for me, I'd probably say the chess. I mean, it's something that's like kind of new to me. I mean, I've been punting for 10 plus years now. So kind of when I go out there, I mean, the biggest thing is I'm going out there and the other team's not booing for me. I mean, they're happy that I'm out there. So it's a little bit of a like, okay, we're just going to go out and do what we do. Playing chess, I mean, even just in here, instead of like maybe 20 people here and whoever's watching on Twitch, it just seemed a little more kind of like something I really didn't know what was going on. I wasn't like all the way in control of what was happening. So my heart rate was definitely up in kind of the last game there. And I would say definitely felt a little bit more pressure playing some chess here today.
Well, I just want to say you gave us a real show. Everyone there did. And in fact, again, Ryan, you gave us a show. Robert, you gave us a show. I mean, it was incredible. I don't even know if you guys realized, but Robert, you had a chance in that last game to actually win because you had this bishop c5 move to win his queen, and so it wasn't one-way traffic in the last game in that tiebreak game. So
No.
you were right there. So it was impressive.
Yeah, Casa, you just broke the guy's heart. Like we just saw life sap out of his face there. Robert, you okay, buddy?
Hey, we had a fun time watching, and I got mad love for you, man. Mad love for you.
Thank you.
So,
I feel for Robert now. Robert, do you have anything to say? I mean, you played so well throughout the day. You know, you had people rooting for you. You had swept everybody until the final. So, what are you thinking right now, especially wearing the Mets cap? I mean, come on, the Mets. I was a Mets fan.
Don't even mention the Mets. I think, yeah, it's just a hard season. But besides that, great games all around. I think at the end of the day, it was just who was more accurate, and that was definitely not me and those two last games. So, yeah, that's about it.
Does this mean you're not going to block for him on a punt at some point? You know, you're going to let someone through because you're mad at him?
Maybe in practice. We'll see.
All right, guys. Well, we've had a blast with you. I know you got things to do, but we love that you're playing chess, that you're showing off to so many fans in attendance, you know, maybe not in a stadium, but on the internet. So really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing more from you guys. So I really hope that we can come together and get some more competitions involving the Texas Longhorns.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Hook 'em. Thank you.
Hook 'em. All right. All right. And you have your champion of the BlitzChamps Texas in Ryan Sanborn. Second place went to Robert Sweeney. It was a close call, Casa. We had some great matchups through and through, but as we were saying, it felt like it could have gone either way, but in the end, Ryan deserved to win the competition.
Yeah, no doubt about it. again, the games were really impressive. Folks got better as they moved to the tournament. And shout out also to Gabriel, who was flanking Ryan there, who actually won 3-0 in the third place match. So there was just a lot of really fun chess, impressive games. And this is what the BlitzChamps is about. Really fun to see guys who are masters in their craft, step into another arena and show sort of the grit that got them to where they are in their main discipline. It's got to show that in another space. So it's really cool.
And we got to hear that from Ryan himself, saying that I learned by losing. I'm very competitive. I just wanted to beat the person who was beating me. So I think for these players, they do have a bit to learn, but they can take away something from today. And it's just great to have players from all over the world, from completely different disciplines, playing chess and showing off that they can play some brilliant moves, as we saw from Robert in the final. We saw 2 brilliant moves from him. So, Casa, before I give you the floor for some final thoughts, I just want to ask the chat, where do you want BlitzChamps to go to next? What team do you want to see take part in the BlitzChamps? Come on, type away, let us know. And Casa, any final thoughts on today?
Look, BlitzChamps is a really fun event. I enjoy commentating it. You get so many different players from all walks of life, essentially playing chess and being competitive in the same way they would be on the football field. And I think it's also a huge opportunity to bring folks together from all across the country. And it's really relatable, right? Like, so often we are, watching, Hikaru, Magnus, and all these guys who are incredible players. And getting the relatable players as well is amazing. And for folks that are really interested in BlitzChamps, do join the BlitzChamps club, because we're basically creating a hub for football fans, for chess fans, and for the players that you saw on screen today to all come in one common place and essentially play against each other sometimes. And we're going to do some fun events in there down the line. So I really encourage folks to join the BlitzChamps community club.
Yeah, use that command Blitz Club in the chat right now. I'm sure it's going to be spammed, but do join, because there will be more events just like this. We promise you that. We had Chidobe Awuzie, we had Josh Cardi, players from the Cincinnati Bengals, the Stanford Cardinal, and of course, the Texas Longhorns. So, on behalf of chess.com, it was a great day, another fantastic BlitzChamps, and we're going to say goodbye, but there is going to be more chess this week, so no more football players playing chess, but some great content creators, international masters, and a fun field ahead in the I Am Not a GM Speeches Championship. That starts in a couple days, but for now, we do say goodbye. Thank you so much for being here, and congrats again to Ryan Sanborn and the Texas Longhorns for making chess grow even more to a broader audience like yourselves. See you later, everybody.
Welcome, Horns.